I should say, welcome to Niger Voices on Starr Radio UK. I welcome you as you're joining us. I say good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK. I welcome you as you're joining us. I say good evening and welcome. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station. Welcome you as you're joining us. And we're live every Wednesday as we look into the situation in Nigeria. This time last week, Wednesday, we were almost saying that election was going to hold on Saturday, but that election was pulled over. But this time around, the election cannot be pulled over. Election is going to go ahead as planned. But what is the expectation is what a lot of people will be looking up to this evening. And I say good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK. I say good evening once again and welcome to Niger Voices on Starr Radio UK. For those that have joined us around the world, it is almost 10 minutes past 1800 hours. We say to you good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK. I say welcome once again. It is just 10 minutes past. Once again, and I say good evening, welcome to Niger Voices. This is the finest African and Caribbean radio station, and this is how we do it every Wednesday. Shout out to everyone in London. I hope the weather is very good on your end. This is where we discuss the current affairs about Nigeria. Shout out to my family. Shout out to those of you that are Yoruba Nation, Biafra Nation. My first track is Janet Orilede Mi, means my own nation. My own nation. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I hope you can hear me loud and clear on the other platforms. And I say good evening once again. Since 1960, we've been told that things will be better in Nigeria. Governorship election under 72 hours. What is your expectation? Tomorrow is the property hour on Bossman, KB Bossman. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. But tonight is all about Niger Voices on Starr Radio UK. Nnamdi Kanu, a British citizen, holding a British passport, kidnapped by the Nigerian government. Until date, nothing seems to have been done. I'll be telling you more about that tonight on Niger Voices. Once again, a very good evening and welcome. Shout out to Mr. Archie. And good evening to those of you that had the children with you. It's been one of those days that, when the strike goes on in UK, the NLC says they're going to be strike. I'm not too sure. They've been talking about that for a very long time. I say shout out to those of you that had the children with you over the week. And likewise today for not attending school because the teachers are on strike here in the United Kingdom. Shout out to those of you in Kenya, in Benin Republic, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cyprus, in Germany, in England, in Scotland, in Wales, in Dublin. I say shout out to those of you in Australia, in New Zealand, and most especially shout out to those of you back home in Nigeria. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK Niger Voices Wednesday edition. As the music is going to the final stage, I say thank you so much to those of you that have joined us so far, and we welcome those of you that have joined us already as we are now almost to the final part of it. Moki gbogbo eti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa pé ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí. And welcome. I say good evening, and I guess we are now fully ready to go into the program. This is Niger Voices. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and I'm going to be driving you home tonight, as usual, every Wednesday. There's a lot to discuss, as usual, and there's a lot happening in Nigeria and within, the community that are also outside Nigeria. When we talk about the issues affecting Nigerians, we can continue to talk about them in big numbers. But tonight, as I normally say, we can decide to remain in Nigeria, or we might decide to say enough is enough for those of us that are campaigning for the right to self-determination. But one thing we cannot do is we cannot stop those that still believe in Nigeria. We can only convince them, because the international community believes that everybody have the right. So as much as those of us that say we want Yoruba nation, the least we can do to those that doesn't want Yoruba nation is to tell them the reason why Yoruba nation or Biafra nation is much better than Nigeria. But you cannot force those that still want to be part of Nigeria. You can't force them. We can encourage them. Good evening to you, Mrs. Olushola Davids. Welcome to you, Dave DZ123. Mrs. Esther, good evening. Sule Ade, good evening. Bedu Magazine, good evening, my big uncle, and shout out to you. Yesterday, I was watching Bedu Magazine after one of his programs, and as usual, I believe we're on the same page. I know a lot of people disagree with us. People think that they're going to take Lagos from us. The Igbo will never try to take Lagos from us, even though we know that they might have the intention, but I think that Nnamdi Kanu will rather want a referendum and prefer the breakup of Nigeria, but not to take Lagos State. But we all know that some people have, intention to take Lagos, whether they are the Chinese, the foreigners, that believe that Lagos belongs to them. So good evening to you, and shout out to my big uncle, Bedu Magazine. Shout out to those of the media that are working tirelessly to the right to self-determination. This is Starr Radio UK, and this evening, 18 minutes past, we have up to 8:30, which is about 24 hours clock here in the UK, where I'm going to be discussing everything. I'm going to start with Nnamdi Kanu tonight, because as we all know, the federal government of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, just as he tried to do the same thing when he wanted to kidnap Umaru Dikko in London, but that was a failed mission. Shout out to you, Idowu Michael. Good evening to you, Sonope. Good evening to those of you that have joined us. And once again, to those that are listening to me on all the other platforms as well. Shout out to those of you on the MixLR. My name is Olayomi Koiki. Starr Radio UK comes up every Wednesday and we discuss the current affairs happening in Nigeria. We look at issues. But tonight, I am discussing the issues surrounding Nnamdi Kanu, and I'm asking the question, how valuable is your British passport? I mean, a lot of us say we have the British passport. I don't know about Americans, but I'm going to focus my conversation around the United Kingdom and those of us that have that passport. Shout out to those of you on the Instagram. Good evening to those of you that are listening to me around the globe. This is Naija Voices on Starr Radio UK. Who is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and how important is he to the Biafra, to the Southeast, to the federal government, to the international community? Maybe some of you are not aware, but I'm going to be telling you that we are also going to be having a new British High Commissioner in Nigeria. And that is Dr. Richard Montgomery. Dr. Richard Montgomery, we're going to be taking over from Katrina Lang in the next few weeks. So by April, Katrina Lang, the former British High Commissioner that should have looked into the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, will be leaving. And then we're going to be having a new Prime Minister, a new British High Commissioner to Nigeria. The relationship between Nigeria and the UK is very, very important. And that means that those that represent the British in Nigeria, and likewise the Nigerian ambassador to UK, is a very, very important role. And if you are not aware, like I said, the British High Commissioner is going to be changing in Nigeria with a new person taking over. Will this new person going to do more to secure the release of Nnamdi Kanu, or are we going to continue to see these game being played, that Nnamdi Kanu remain in the custody of the British High Commissioner? I mean, sorry, in the hands of the DSS rather. I'm going to be telling you what Katrina Lang is saying regarding Nnamdi Kanu as well. But tonight, how important is it that those of us that have the British passport, are you concerned for the near future should your children have problem with any African countries, most especially those of us from Nigeria, and then you travel to Ghana on holiday, and then your child calls you and say, "Mommy, I have been kidnapped by the Nigerian government or any other African country," but the focus tonight will be Nigeria because that is the country we are discussing tonight. How do you react as a parent, finding out that your daughter, your son has been kidnapped and then removed without due process back to Nigeria? How do you react? Good evening to you, Richard Alabi, my brother, uncle back in Nigeria, watching all the way from Lagos. Shout out once again to those of you that have joined us on all the platforms. Good evening to you, Akim Badmos. Good evening to you, Erinle Olusegun Adekunle. I want you to follow me carefully because it is important. Because most Nigerians probably does not understand that even with your British passport, I don't think you are safe should you travel out of the UK and then you have issues with maybe the Nigerian government, and then the Nigerian government decide to kidnap you and return you back to Nigeria without due process. The question then is, as a parent, how do you react to such news is the question. Good evening to you, Wasiu, Aziz, Joseph, Daniel, and the rest of you that have joined me tonight. My name is Olayomi Koiki. I'm going to be discussing Nnamdi Kanu because there's some latest development that is coming through by some of his legal team that have been working tirelessly so that they can get him released. First and foremost, who is Nnamdi Kanu and what is Nnamdi Kanu fighting for? Wasiu Taiwo, good evening to you. Adam OLAMILEKAN, City Boy Adewuyi, good evening. Omontosho Olawumi, good evening to you. Should we be concerned that even with a British passport, you can still be kidnapped in 21st century? I mean, the British passport today, let me look at the ranking of the British passport for those of us that have that passport and thinking that that passport will be able to secure your traveling from point A to point B. What is the passport index saying regarding those of you that have a British passport? For those that have the British passport, according to the passport index, this is the organization that tells you some of the strongest passport in the world. The British passport is ranking number 5 according to the global passport index. The British passport currently, as of today, ranks 5th place according to the Guide Passport Ranking Index. It provides visa-free access to 189 countries, but does it also guarantee that should I travel with a British passport to Kenya, I will be secure to return back to Britain without being kidnapped by the federal government of Nigeria because of my views, because of my disagreement, because of what I'm fighting for? How important is this British passport for those of you that are probably not concerned because it has got to do with Nnamdi Kanu? He's an Igbo man, he's a Biafra man, and we don't care about him. Are you also going to wake up one morning and your daughter, your son, because of their views with the government in Africa, travel with one of the most powerful passports in the world and eventually end up in a country by rendition and kidnapping? What do we understand by rendition? Because a lot of people do not understand what the federal government have done to Nnamdi Kanu. But who is Nnamdi Kanu is the question. Not everybody knows Nnamdi Kanu. Maybe we should allow my engineer to give us the back picture of Nnamdi Kanu, and then maybe some of you might have seen Nnamdi Kanu just as Sunday Igboho, Dr. Oloye Sunday Igboho, is now also outside Nigeria because of his views, and the reason why is because the federal government of Nigeria disagree with Sunday Igboho. But tonight, I want to focus with Nnamdi Kanu because Nnamdi Kanu traveled to Kenya with a British passport. But today, Nnamdi Kanu is kidnapped, rendition, back to Nigeria because of one reason, and one reason only. Nnamdi Kanu is calling for the disintegration of Nigeria, not by war, but by a peaceful means, by asking the federal government to conduct a referendum and decide whether the Biafra wants to remain as part of Nigeria. Because the Biafra war that took place in the 60s might erupt again if care is not taken between the federal government and the Biafra. So I am asking again tonight, how important, how valuable is this British passport that some of us have spent over 2 decades in the UK trying to obtain this passport because of our circumstances in Nigeria, and we don't want to live in Nigeria anymore. We've decided to come to UK and settle here. It took some of us about 20 years before obtaining that British passport. That is if you are not born directly in the UK. But today, Nnamdi Kanu traveled to Kenya sometime around June 2021. Nobody knew where he was. But let me give you who Nnamdi Kanu is, according to what I have here in front of me. Nnamdi Okuwu Kanu is a British Nigerian political activist who advocates for the secession and independence of Biafra from Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, which he founded sometime around 2014. He's around 55 years old, born 1967, just 7 years after, what we can call the Nigerian independence, that so many people are now questioning that independence, whether it was a legitimate independence or not. He's married. He was well educated, but he has become a prisoner of conscience. In the process of his arrest and in the process of some of his, issue between the federal government and himself, his parent died in that process. How important for somebody like Nnamdi Kanu that was traveling with one of the most strongest passports in the world, the British passport. But today, that passport was made useless, rentless, when the federal government colluded with the same criminality of African leaders from Kenya without due process. Let me tell you, Nnamdi Kanu was not given a due process before returning to Kenya. I'm going to be telling you what his legal teams are saying that is forcing this conversation tonight. Because we now know that the British FCDO, which stand for the Foreign Affairs Selected Committee, will now have no other option than to look into the case of Nnamdi Kanu, but I'm going to come there before we go further. What do we understand by rendition? Maybe some of you have heard that word before, maybe not. Good evening to you, Najamu Yusuf. Welcome to the program. Good evening to you, Temitope Olumide Tola Adebayo. Good evening to you, Oluwasesan. Good evening, Romeo. Good evening to you, and those of you that have joined me from different platforms. I am discussing the latest update on Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It could be anybody, it could be me, it could be you, traveling with a British passport, or I don't know, maybe American passport. But my focus tonight is the British passport, because we know that Nnamdi Kanu did not travel to Kenya with a Nigerian passport. But the question is, what gave the federal government the right to decide to kidnap him? We know what kidnap means. If no one can find me after 7 days, and you get in touch with my family, with my mom, with those that knows me, and they say, look, we've been following Olayomi Koiki, and for whatever reason, we've not been able to find out where he is. The question then is, we don't know whether he has been kidnapped, whether he has been arrested, whether he's gone to, he has traveled and nobody knows. But the question then is, with the issue of Nnamdi Kanu, there was what we called rendition. Nnamdi Kanu was rendition. This is a performance or interpretation, especially of a dramatic piece role. Why was Nnamdi Kanu returned to Nigeria without the due process in Kenya? Why was the federal government not allowing, his family, his followers, those that knows him, to know that Nnamdi Kanu is now in our hands in Kenya, but we will go through the legal rule. And this is why we are saying, for those of us that say Nigeria is not a country and does not respect the rule of law. And should you think that this has nothing to do with you, let me remind you that Omoyele Sowore has gone through the same process, and he was kept in Abuja for more than 2 years without traveling back to the US, even though we know that his case was almost not as The same with Nnamdi Kanu. Good evening to you, Mrs. Adenike Adelekun Balogun. Good evening to you. May is good. Welcome to the program. Once again, how important is you that have the British passport, hoping that you can travel around the world, but the federal government of Nigeria can decide to kidnap you? Umaru Dikko, let me take you back to Umaru Dikko. Some of you might not have heard Umaru Dikko. Umaru Dikko, at some point, was almost kidnapped by President Muhammadu Buhari, then a military dictator. Umaru Dikko kidnapped. I'm going to give you Umaru Abdurrahman Dikko was a Nigerian politician. He was an advisor to the then President Shehu Shagari that served as a minister for transportation from 1979 to 1983 when President Muhammadu Buhari, now the president in a civilian democratic rule, that still thinks that he's operating as a military dictator. Because Umaru Dikko kidnapped was foiled just in time before the Nigerian aircraft would have returned him back to Nigeria, and nobody would have knew that Umaru Dikko was in that aircraft. Just the same way Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in 2021. Let's talk about the failed attempt by President, then Major General Muhammadu Buhari, that has done the same thing during the civilian rule without respecting the rule of law. The question then is, how do you want those of us to still remain Nigerians when rule of law is not respected? If the president believes that Nnamdi Kanu has committed an offense that has already been trashed even in the court, because all the 15 count on Nnamdi Kanu has been crushed by the court in Nigeria, but yet Muhammadu Buhari, the current president, refused to release him. But this is Buhari then in the uniform. He still believes that he's operating in the uniform and he must disrespect the rule of law as a democratic president. And that is why those of you that are suffering today in Nigeria will continue to suffer because of the nepotism, because of the subjugation, because nothing seems to be working, even up to the Supreme Court telling the president to allow the currency, the whole Naira note. We're going to come to that. But my focus tonight on the Starr Radio UK is to talk about the case between the federal government, the British government, and Nnamdi Kanu. Why is Nnamdi Kanu still in the custody even after the court has acquitted, discharged Nnamdi Kanu? This is Starr Radio UK, and this is how we do it every Wednesday. And I say good evening to those of you. If you're watching us for the very first time, I will probably say, this is how we welcome you to the program. Well, welcome to the program, and it is again the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. We're transmitting live every day from Monday to Sunday, but every Wednesday you will sit here and you will enjoy issues affecting indigenous people, issues affecting the Biafra, the Arewa that have been marginalized by the Fulani, and likewise those that believe in Nigeria. We discuss everything here, but one thing tonight is, why did Buhari, the then military dictator, wanted to kidnap without due process? I believe this man just like, everything not due process. He was doing it in the 80s. He tried it in the 2021. He was successful because of the corrupt system like Kenya.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Let's talk about Umaru Dikko so that you can understand that this is not the first time that President Muhammadu Buhari is used to trying to kidnap people. He wants to kidnap you. He believes that he's still running a military dictator. We are no longer operating a military dictatorship in Nigeria. It is a democracy, and in a democracy, you must respect the rule of law. That is why you decide to contest as a president, even though we know you are leaving the government within the next 2 months. But you must do everything to allow the rule of law to play out and release Nnamdi Kanu back to his family. If not, we're going to discuss the issue that the legal team here in UK are pressure the UK government and the foreign and Commonwealth as well. If you're listening to me once again, I say...
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. In your car,
Work.
at home,
On your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
in your car,
Work.
at home.
On your smartphone. The best radio show. The best radio show. The morning show. The best radio show.
And it is the best radio show. Shout out to my mom. Good evening to you and welcome once again. Love you so much. Good evening to you, my beautiful, beautiful auntie, Bimileke. Good evening to you, my beautiful auntie, Temi. It doesn't rhyme, so I put this comment out there. Good evening to all our grandmothers and our grandfathers. And you're watching a live transmission on Starr Radio UK. If you are not following us on Twitter, just say yes. I'm not going to upset with you. Good evening and shout out to you, Blessed Shiere. Good evening to all the Biafra and welcome once again. Invite your colleagues and let's discuss the issue why Nnamdi Kanu is still being held, by this criminal government that we can call them because they are not listening to the rule of law. Buhari tried the same thing in the 80s and that's what we are discussing. And let's continue with the program. Shout out to my producer once again and welcome to the program. Shout out to those of you that are listening to me on all the platforms, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Bolaniwa Michael, good evening. Tola Adebayo, Temitope Olumide. Shout out to those of you in Kogi State, in Ekiti State, Kwara, Oshun, Lagos, Ondo. It's going to be very, very interesting time on Saturday. I can't wait. Something is going to be happening in Nigeria on Saturday. It's all about the election, and we look forward to that as well. Shout out to you, Emile Oluwasegun. You also said Umaru Dikko was put in a crate, but void by a secretary that quickly called for the police attention. You're quite right. We're getting very there. Good evening to you, Idowu. Good evening to you, Deep Cyphers. Oh, it is working. Okay, I don't know what is working. You say it is working. Temi, yes, I know you're there. You don't like putting the comment out there, but I can feel your energy. Good evening to those of you that are listening to me. This is the Finest African. This is where we talk about the truth of what is affecting as many Nigerians and those that say, Yomi, please, I beg. No come in Nigeria, I be Biafra. Me, I be Biafra boy, you. Yes, you have the right to call yourself Biafra because we know that the election of 1959 was the first election that was rigged by the British government. And I'm going to be telling you what Katrina Lang is going, and we're going to have a new UK Prime Minister, UK High Commissioner to Nigeria. I'm going to be telling you that. But the British High Commissioner says Nigerian politics is fascinating. As bright future, says British High Commissioner. I don't believe that. I disagree with her, but we're going to come back to that. My focus tonight is, let's go back to Umaru Dikko. Umaru Dikko was not a clean politician, just as the politicians today, they are all criminals. They steal money there and there, money that is meant to be used for the project. Imagine Umaru Dikko is like a Rotimi Amechi, the criminal. Most of them are criminals because what they do is, they use the they use the opportunity serving Nigerians to siphon money. And then, we know that the past Minister for Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, was telling us that, they couldn't protect you. And he was telling the government, but that's not where we're going. So let's go into Umaru Dikko briefly at 1842. In all my interaction with the British authority, I stood my ground that, the federal government had to do with the adoption of Umaru Dikko. Why was Buhari trying to adopt and kidnap Umaru Dikko? He wanted to bring Umaru Dikko back. This is what the BBC, in November 12, 2012, had to say on their website. The 4 Nigerian kidnap plot. And let's take a look at it. In London in 1984, a team of Nigerians and Israelis, these are countries that work with the government then and creating this havoc, attempted to kidnap and repatriate the exiled former Nigerian minister, Umaru Dikko. Umaru Dikko, who had fled Nigeria after the military coup, was accused of stealing then $1 billion. Wow. So much money have been stolen from Nigeria, and you ask yourself, good evening to you, Mrs. Oladejo Mary, good evening to you, Omobolaji Abdullahi, Odekoya Kunle, good evening to you, and good evening to Dorcas Kazim, and once again, shout out to those of you that are listening. It is coming up to almost 1900 hours. That is 7 p.m., but it's still about 15 more minutes. Umaru Dikko was not a clean politician, just as the politician today. We saw Ibori was a criminal. He was jailed here in the UK. Olayomi Koiki, ran away, dressing like a woman. Today, allegation of kidney between, the UK government and, Ike Kirimado is still ongoing. We can't talk about that, but we know that it's an allegation. But one thing is the Nigerian politician, if somebody said there's no sound, can you tell that person to come in and out of the program? Because I believe that we have sound in all the platforms tonight, maybe from your own end. Good evening once again, King Mirado, and welcome to the program. So Umaru Dikko, even if he has committed this crime against humanity by trying to steal about $1 billion, wow. That is a hell of a money in the 80s. Imagine what that could have done, in fixing some of our transportation problem. But today, you can still not travel freely from one end of Nigeria to the other because there is no good transportation, and the road network has become a problem because of the terrorism happening in Nigeria. But in 1984, President Muhammadu Buhari, then a military dictator in this uniform, gave the go-ahead to kidnap Umaru Dikko. And that was the same thing he did by kidnapping rendition Nnamdi Kanu back to Nigeria. But the pressure now is, why are they still holding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu? So the plot was foiled. I'm talking about Umaru Dikko. The reason why Nnamdi Kanu issue was like that is because we believe from what we are told that Nnamdi Kanu was actually even sold out anyway by some of those that say that we're fighting for Biafra. They gave him out for peanuts. It doesn't matter how much they were paying them by the governor of Imo State and the rest of these criminals that were thinking that they were part of the dusk, and then now they're fighting, the autopilot. They sold Nnamdi Kanu out, but that is not where we're going. Nnamdi Kanu has the right to travel around the world. It could be anywhere he wants. But one thing is, how valuable is the British passport? Because those of you that are saying that, come here, come here, your son, your daughter will be kidnapped one day by these criminals that call themselves African leaders. And then you will cry out, and then nobody's going to rescue you. Because the case of Nnamdi Kanu is something that we should be discussing on a daily basis, because he was not traveling with a Nigerian passport. Nnamdi Kanu was traveling with one of the most strongest passports in the world, British passport, and yet he was kidnapped, rendition, tortured. And even though he has been told by the court that all these charges are, bogus, discharged and acquitted, but Buhari still refused to allow him to go. But let's go back to Umaru Dikko. The plot of the kidnap of Umaru Dikko was actually foiled by what we can call a young British custom officer named Charles David Morrow, who has now told the BBC World Service witness what actually happened. On a summer day, Mr. Umaru Dikko, that has been somebody of interest to then the military dictator Muhammadu Buhari, that has given the order that wherever you find him, bring him back to Nigeria, even without the legal process, without the due process. Good evening to you, Alaja Sherifa Agbabiaka Otumbade Kunle. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, my brother, my uncle, Shegun Ono, and welcome to the program. We are looking at the valuable of the British passport, how important it is. A lot of you have it, but what is important of having a British passport and not getting the British consulate, the British government, as we know that so many British citizens, especially in Iran, has been arrested and they've been brought back. But what is the case that Nnamdi Kanu's own is different? Is it because it's from Nigeria? Is it because, he's fighting for something that the British government disagree with? Imagine, according to DZ123, Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped holding a British passport. Something is quite not right there. And you're quite right. And this is why I'm reviewing it tonight again. I mean, what is this important of me having this British passport and I cannot be guaranteed that I can move around? And if there's any problem, the British embassy should be able to intervene without even asking me, where are you born? I mean, where were you born? I mean, I've got the British passport. Even if I was not born here, I have the right to have it. And that's the reason why I was given. Good evening to you, Timmy Lawal. Welcome to the program. So it was a British custom officer that intercepted the Nigerian aircraft. Then, we had the Nigerian Airways. We don't have it anymore because, corruption has allowed it to go, into Kabul. Good evening to you, Shitu Omawumi. On a summer day, Umaru Dikko was making a walk out of his front door in Upper Market neighborhood of Bayswater in London. Within seconds, he had been grabbed by two men, bundled into the back of a transit van. I remember the very violent way in which I was grabbed and hauled into the van with a huge fellow sitting on my head, and the way in which they immediately put on me handcuffs, chained my leg. This is Umaru Dikko also explaining himself to the BBC. Let's go further. Mr. Umaru Dikko, as we have said, was the then Minister for Transportation, that the government was a civilian government, was overthrown by this man behind me, known as Buhari. You might think he's a good man now, but he actually destroyed the 1979 democracy that we had in Nigeria by overthrowing a civilian government, by saying that they were corrupt. Under his nose today, corruption has scaled through, economy has been damaged, security is not there, education is zero, there's no job for Nigerians. But he actually destroyed what could have been a build into what we can call a proper democracy. Because if Buhari did not overthrow Shehu Shagari and there was no military intervention, maybe by now we could have got it right, and some of us will probably not even be shouting for Yoruba nation. But President Muhammadu Buhari now was the then military dictator that had a coup and now also done the same thing he did in 1984, kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu, and he was successful this time around. And the reason why he was successful is because of the criminals in the doors that sold Nnamdi Kanu out for peanuts. Mr. Umaru Dikko had been the Minister for Transportation in the government of Shehu Shagari until he was overthrown by the military coup by the end of 1983. He fled to London, accused by the Nigerians' new ruler of embezzlement, a charge he has always denied. Labeled Nigeria's most wanted man, a plot was hatched to get both him and the money back. I'm not sure whether they even got the money back, even though they never got him back. I don't even know where the money is. Whether the money is there in UK, somewhere in America, in Swiss, we don't know. I don't have evidence to back that tonight. But what we can tell you is the extraordinary plan was to kidnap Umaru Dikko, drug him, stick him into a special made crate, and put him on a plane back to Nigeria alive. And who gave the order? It was then the military dictator behind me, Muhammadu Buhari. This was put together by some of the Israelis that has been known to have been former Mossad agent. Alexander Barak was recruited to lead the kidnap. It included a Nigerian intelligence officer named Major Muhammadu Yusuf and an Israel nationalist, Felix Abiboto, and Dr. Levy that injected Umaru Dikko. Like I said, Umaru Dikko is not a clean man himself. He's a criminal. Anyway, the kidnappers switched vehicles in a car park by London Zoo and headed towards Stansted Airport, where a Nigerian Airways plane was waiting after they've injected Umaru Dikko. Was it the way that Nnamdi Kanu was also, bundled back to Nigeria is the question. And my question tonight is, what has Katrina Lang, the UK British High Commissioner, what has been his effort? What has he said? What has he done, in trying to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu could be released and returned back to UK? We know that she's leaving, and we have a new person coming. But let's go quickly now to what the press release that we got. The Foreign Affairs Selected Committee inquiry published submission on behalf of the British citizen Nnamdi Kanu. Let me take you through the summary. But before that, once again, if you've joined us for the very first time, I say good evening and welcome. Good evening to my beautiful auntie, Iyabo Olubunmi Oluwole. Good evening to you, Mrs. Modupe Lawal. Good evening to you, Bolaniwa Michael. Good evening to those of you that have joined me tonight, and welcome once again to your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. I am asking, what is the importance of your British passport? Good evening to you, my uncle Olatunji Awofeso said, President Muhammadu Buhari was the military head of state in 1983 December, but he is not the real coup leader. The coup leader was General Babangida. Okay, thank you for that. But we know that they're all part of the criminality that took place. Yusuf Mukaila, good evening, and thank you so much for that update as well. Katrina Lang, she's quite aware that Nnamdi Kanu has been in the custody of the DSS without due process, because you can't kidnap anybody, even if Nnamdi Kanu was not traveling with a British passport. You can't just bundle somebody in 21st century and take them back. What has she done? Katrina Lang. What has she done to the release of Nnamdi Kanu? Let's see if we can find anything to back that tonight. Once again, we're reviewing and asking ourselves, should the British government, especially their representative, done more in making sure that Nnamdi Kanu got what we can call a fair treatment? There's been a lot of cases, the IPOB have raised alarm over alleged plot to assassinate, the killing of Nnamdi Kanu in the custody, but it's, things. Nnamdi Kanu writes the US, the UK envoy over his trials. This was January last year. There's a lot of press release. The United Nations tells Nigeria to unconditionally release and compensate Nnamdi Kanu, but this is a government that doesn't agree with Nnamdi Kanu and his legal team. Immigration, the UK envoy admits such. Okay, no, we're not talking about the British, the visa application. Kanu denied visiting British envoy to discuss the IPOB matter. This was just after Nnamdi Kanu was picked up in June 2021. Nnamdi Kanu British passport remains in Kenya. I mean, how did we get to where we are? That a British citizen is just being left to die in the custody of a country like Nigeria that doesn't care about human rights. Good evening to you, okay. Abisoye, my brother, my uncle, welcome to the program. Aderonke Oridatu, good evening and welcome, man. Temilawa say, let me tell our people that you, Koiki, have been trying in your part. We are prepared in full to know that without proper preparation or full into escalation of war, we can't go anywhere. Well, I hope people understand that. Omobalaji Abdullah says, Somalian passport is even better than British passport. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, we should go apply for Somalian visa right now. Odekoya Kunle says she won't even ask any question because Nigeria is British cocoa farm. Wow. Good evening to you, Mrs. Ruth. Lai Adetoye say, you are quite appreciated, Koiki, my brother. May the Lord continue to strengthen you in this hour. No going back, the journey of ultimate Yoruba nation. Oluwaseyi, Yoruba nation self-determination is sacrosanct. Shodimu Ayomide says we must continue, and yes, Yoruba nation is not going back. So let me quickly, bump into it quickly. These are some of the headlines. I'm just looking at different headlines. You left EU through BRICS exit. Stop supporting one Nigeria. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This was before he was arrested. Maybe these are the reason why Katrina Lang was not doing much. Let me read this headline. This was coming from Sahara Reporter. Around March, just before Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped, same year around June. Maybe his utterances utterances. My mom get upset when I use that utterance, utterances. I guess that's where she always say, please stop using that word. It's called utterances. She always, moan around, that pronunciation. So it's called utterances. So I have to keep controlling to make sure that I get the right conversation and the right pronunciation. It's called utterances. So the utterances of Nnamdi Kanu, probably somebody like myself, some of my utterances might not be pleased with some of you. You might be thinking that it's best for the Nigerian government to arrest me as well, or the British government to arrest us because of my utterances. My utterances is just our right to self-determination. Is not a bad view with my utterances. My utterances are very, very moderate. Yes, it might look to you like, we are calling for violence. We're not calling for violence. We are asking the government to respect us as Yoruba people that wants to exit, what we can call the contraction, because Nigeria is a contraction where you cannot get access to the basic things of life. So my utterances is not something that you should be concerned about. You should be concerned about your government that is not putting the rule of law by trying to kidnap Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Natek Electrical, good evening to you and welcome once again. Abiodun George, an evil country where the evil people are controlling, God will deliver us. Welcome to the program, our mother, Omolara Iyabo, and good evening as well. So let's continue into the program. And again, if you've just joined me for the very, very first time, we normally also welcome you. And this is how we do that when we say, welcome to Starr Radio UK.
Worldwide, online, 24/7.
UK. This is Starr Radio UK. In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide, online, 24/7.
And also we do like this. We welcome you for those of you that have joined us. But you remember, subscribe to the Starr Radio UK Twitter handle. It's very, very important. You can be able to find out what is going on. We are also transmitting on our apps. You can download the apps, but you can catch on me every Wednesday from 1800 hours, which is 6 p.m., where we talk about it. Yes, struggle continue, Aluta continue, Yoruba nation. We have nothing to do with the election that is coming up in Lagos. I'm going to be discussing that later on. We have nothing to do with any political party, but Nigerians and the Yorubas that still believe in Nigeria have the right, according to the British government, the America, to their civic right, even though the British High Commissioner was telling us that the election might not be as best as you can think, but we can just manage it. Really?
Broadcasting worldwide, online, 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide, online, 24/7.
Once again, this is
Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Now let's go back into Nnamdi Kanu. Time is fast gone. Nnamdi Kanu released this statement around March 31st, 2021. Maybe this is the reason why, his case is not something that is interesting. Has any interest to the British government, and they're probably thinking, maybe, Nigerian government should continue to torture somebody that have a British passport in 21st century. That shouldn't be happening, but this is what is happening right now. So this was the headline then. You left European Union through BRICS exit. Stop supporting one Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu tells the British government. Maybe his utterances was the reason why he's not getting a lot of support today, but still, it is still wrong for someone holding a British passport. Even if you don't have a British passport, you have a normal indefinite stay, you still have the right to be here. Good evening to you. Abi Dajos, Ele Tienche Fua, Ele Tienche Fua. I'm not too sure. This Yoruba is too much for me to understand. He also stated that the Britain which left European Union through BRICS exit has no moral justification to prevent Nigeria's indigenous peoples who are clamoring for self-determination. This is Nnamdi Kanu now. This was in March 2021. just about almost 2 months after that, those that are his cycle. I don't have any evidence to back that whether the British government was involved in his kidnapping. There's no evidence to that. But there's evidence to some criminal element within the doors that sold Nnamdi Kanu to the federal government because they knew that Nnamdi Kanu has been traveling back and forth between UK and Kenya for whatever reason known to him. But those around the system sold him out. And those are the criminals that are now shouting Peter Obi today as well. They're criminals, supporting Peter Obi, even though at one time they were all endorsing, Biafra agitation. We know that we still have people, the Simon Ekpa, and the rest of those that believe that, Nnamdi Kanu and his legal team, Aloy Ejimako, I'm not too sure about the other lawyer because there's been a lot of contradiction around him. So I'm just going to leave the other lawyer. But I can say that Aloy Ejimako has been working tirelessly to get Nnamdi Kanu out of the mess that he found himself by the dust criminal that find out that if I collect, $1 million, I can sell the leader of their movement to the federal government, just as some did with Dr. Loye Sunday Igboho. Triple DRS, welcome to the program. Berechi Anyanwu, continue to say the truth will set you free. Good evening to you once again, to those of you. And again, Dizzy 123 says it is unbelievable that a British citizen, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, was kidnapped in 21st century, as the British consulate would have been informed Kenya in these circumstances. And they were able to take him out quickly, just as they wanted to do with Umaru Dikko. But Umaru Dikko won foil because somebody, the secretary to Umaru Dikko, saw what was happening on the window, reported the situation to the police, and the police quickly knew that an aircraft that was sitting on the tarmac in Stansted, which is the Nigerian aircraft, had to be checked, and they checked it, and there Nnamdi Kanu was Umaru Dikko was there. Olatunja officer says sooner or later Nigeria will go back to regional or parliamentary system of government. It is just a matter of time. Good evening to you, Mrs. Olasumbo. Sangolano, a very beautiful name. Welcome to the program. It is called Niger Voices. If you're trying to find out, where and when the Koiki normally speak on Niger Voices or on Starr Radio UK, every Wednesday, 6 p.m. local time in London, 1 hour ahead in Nigeria, that is 7 p.m. And this is where you can find me. Or you can find me on my own other platform. But also Monday to Friday, 11 o'clock, we'll discuss update from Nigeria. So let's go back to what Nnamdi Kanu was telling the British government, that, look, you are an exit from the European Union. Why not give us a referendum? Let's decide whether we still want to be part of Nigeria or not. And if that vote doesn't favor us, we'll abandon Biafra. And if it favors us, we break away from Nigeria without anybody fighting each other, without any shade of guns or weapons thrown at each other. But today, genocide continues to take place in the southeast because of the negligence and the world looking away while criminality is taking place by the federal government and the military. He also stated that Britain, which left European Union through BRICS exit, has no moral justification to prevent Nigerians, indigenous people who are clamoring for self-determination. Kanu accused Britain, maybe these are the reasons why they are not taking it very serious, of aiding and abating President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration of Nigeria. According to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the United Kingdom is allegedly helping the terrorist headers to kill people in towns and villages. He went further to berate the British government for failing to lend military aid to Nigeria in tackling the Boko Haram terrorists, but suddenly has awakened to resist the agitation for self-determination. The IPOB leader said this during his live broadcast, which was on Tuesday, March 2021, when it was just 2 months before it was sold out. Good evening to you, Akurede Oladapo. Temitayo Oladele, good evening. Katrina Lang, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, she's going to be leaving. I'm going to give you all the details of the new High Commissioner that is coming through, and I'm going to tell you more about this new individual that is taking over from Katrina Lang from April next month that is going to be taking place. Katrina Lang, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, on Monday, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja on the Chevron and scholarship beneficiaries, said the UK government was committed to helping Nigeria fight insecurity. We are extremely concerned about the deteriorating security situation. I mean, Nigeria is facing a lot of problems that the colonials created in the first place, and Nnamdi Kanu and Dr. Olayomi Igboho, Professor Emeritus Adebanji Akintoye, and the rest of those that say, let us have a peaceful disintegration. This union has never worked since 1960. It is leading us to, drain. But the British High Commissioner is saying that, our election has been fascinating, it's progressing, and we should remain Nigerians, even though our true identity are Yorubas. Let's continue. Well, we are here to support and help. We have the military team here who came here after the Chippo girls were kidnapped and so on and so forth. So these, Kanu went further to encourage agitators of self-determination, regardless of their ethnic group, never to back down. Today, a lot of people have backed down, even among the Yoruba nation agitation. People think that now that, the agitation is a bit slower than the expectation, it seems that nothing is happening, even though we're going to be discussing that later on. The Yoruba nation movement is still a continuity, is a struggle, and in the struggle there will be, ups, there will be ups and downs, but we believe that we are still on the right track. Tinubu being the president has got nothing to do with the agitation. It has got nothing to do with the stop of the movement. The movement is still continuity. There's a lot of creation of awareness. Education is going on, and more and more and more. But we can't stop those that say that the Yoruba, we don't want to be part of Yoruba nation. We want to even remain as a country in Nigeria, even though we know that Nigeria is not a country. Good evening to you, my beautiful mother, Oluwatoyin Omolara, and welcome to the program, ma. Good evening once again to those of you that have joined us. Like I said, tonight, my focus is on Nigeria, UK, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the British passport. How important, imagine a lot of us, had to go through a lot if you were not born in this country. My utterances might not be good to you, but does not mean that the Nigerian government should bundle me and kidnap me and rendition me back to Nigeria without the due process. Due process must be followed. We know that, with the situation of Nnamdi Kanu, he was traveling on his own at the airport in Nairobi, Kenya, when, eventually, those that knew his movement sold him out for peanuts, and today, we are still trying to find out why the British government is not doing enough. The time is just coming up to 4 minutes past 7 p.m. local time in London. And like I said, this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And this is how we do it Monday to Friday, when I talk about issues about Nigeria for about almost 30 minutes with my team in the morning. But in the evening like this, it's all about Niger Voices on a Wednesday. You can watch us on all the platforms on social media. But for you to get what I do, follow us on the Starr Radio UK Twitter. Good evening to you, beautiful mother, a strong supporter of my platform as well, Mrs. Comfort Ologunja, and welcome to the program. Eunice Uche, welcome to the program. Tonight is all about our brother Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that has been kidnapped, rendition back, and we are asking the federal government of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, to now look into this issue and allow this issue to be resolved. You don't have to agree with the utterances of Nnamdi Kanu. I know some Yorubas were not happy with him. They believe that he was making a lot of things that probably was not in their favor. But today we have done more than even what Nnamdi Kanu was saying. If you go back to what some of our medias have been discussing, you will realize that we have said more as well. Shout out to those of you watching me on Instagram. I can't see your comment properly, but I'll be saying shout out to you. Ologuna Agba. Adewale, I love those names. When there's something like Ologun, these are warriors. But today, we are happy, we're grateful that the Yoruba nation conscious has come back to our mind. When you hear anything Ogundele, you don't have to run away and say, Ogunke. When you hear something like Ologunja, you know that, yes, these are powerful warriors. and we have to be grateful. Once again, Mrs. Yabo says, I can't stand watching or seeing this woman's picture, Katrina Lang. Please, can someone take this? I don't want to use the word off the screen. Again, I can't use that word as well. And I think I've done so. So let's go back again, into the issue with Nnamdi Kanu. But as I was saying, this is again the finest African and Caribbean radio station. And you can listen to me on Starr Radio UK by this.
Work. At home. On your smartphone. In your car. Work. At home. On your smartphone.
Shout out to those of...
At home. On your smartphone.
Let me quickly take your comment. Comrade Plan B, you say Yoruba Nation. Good evening. Omoda Milari. Good evening. You also said nothing will ever change in this contraction called Nigeria. Shout out to those of you on the Mix LR tonight. And I say good evening to each and every one of you as well. We appreciate you for being there all the time, listening to us. Once again, this is Starr Radio UK as we continue to ask the question, what has been the offense of Nnamdi Kanu that the British High Commissioner and likewise the British government, the Foreign and Commonwealth Development here in UK has not done a lot to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu, is released from Nigeria, even though we know that the court has already said Nnamdi Kanu should be left alone. Good evening and shout out to you, my uncle, all the way in Paris. I don't like mentioning your name. I hope Alaji is doing very well as well. We love you and we appreciate you. Yoruba Nation, we're going to talk about it later on as well. 72 hours before the election. Governorship election, there's a lot of tension out there. And we just hope that things will be peaceful. I guess we have some comment coming through on the Starr Radio UK as well. Bamidele Tokpe, you say good evening to you. Wasiu Bolaniwa, you say White Lion, Ekushe Takuntaku, Yoruba Nation are going back. Good evening to you as well. And I guess we have some of you that have joined us on the YouTube, on the Starr Radio. I'm going to read your comment out in a minute. Now, let me now go back to what the family of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have done in UK. And this is what, we need to do, just like the case of, Ijile Marcos, is still a lot of people are concerned about it. I keep getting messages all the time that what is the latest update surrounding Ijile Marcos? We don't know what has been the reason why Ijile Marcos is being held, but from the last communication with myself and the family, all I'm told is Ijile is doing very well. He's not doing very well, even though he's still in the custody and he has not been released as well. Ganiolo Yede, good evening to you. Rahim Abbas, I cite you. Mrs. Leah Jayi, say Ekushe Takuntakun, White Lion, more strength to your elbow, Yoruba Nation not going back. And Otumba Adekunle, good evening to you as well. Now, let's go back now to these release that came out, from the legal team of Nnamdi Kanu here in the United Kingdom. The Foreign Affairs Selected Committee inquiry publishes submissions on behalf of the British citizen Nnamdi Kanu. The Foreign Affairs Selected Committee inquiry into the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, known as the FCDO. These are the people that looked into issues affecting anything that's got to do with relationship between the British government and the other countries around the world. Handling of a state-level hostage situation has published a submission by the Bidemans LLP on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu's family into the failures of the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office to take appropriate action in response to Mr. Kanu's torture, extraordinary rendition, and arbitrary detention. The mandate of the inquiry is to discuss the process and approaches taken by the British government in securing the release of detainees in Iran and elsewhere. The submission therefore examines the British government's approach in Mr. Kanu's case and highlights the limited effectiveness of that approach in the face of the serious breaches of international law that have been made and continue to be committed against Mr. Kanu. The submission also makes recommendation to the FCDO for better practice. Good evening to you, Mrs. Sekinat Amaomi, and once again, shout out to those of you that are watching us tonight on the Starr Radio UK. Let's take you back again to, some of the situation that Nnamdi Kanu found himself. Mr. Kanu is a British national who ordinarily resides in the United Kingdom with his wife and children. On the 19th of June 2021, Mr. Kanu was abducted from the airport in Nairobi, Kenya, and detained, tortured for around 10 days in Kenya. Nobody knew where he was until the federal government thought they caught a big elephant and brought him to, in front of the camera and say, oh, we're having Nnamdi Kanu and, with handcuff, and think that, that would just be like that. How did you find him? How did you get him? Did you do the due process? Did you follow, the international protocol? Remember that Nigeria has, a lot of rights to be respected under international law, but Nigeria continued to operate like a zoo. He was then tortured for almost 10 days inside Kenya. He was then subject to extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria to face criminal persecution in relation to his activities with the indigenous people of Biafra, because some of his utterances is something that President Muhammadu Buhari is not happy with. Once again, a very good evening and welcome. Ever since Mr. Kanu has been detained in conditions that amount to torture at the headquarters of the Nigerian Intelligence Agency in Abuja, Nigeria, he has been repeatedly denied access to medical assistance and to his legal team. Mr. Kanu has requested consular assistance from the British government. This is where, again, I know you don't want to see the face, but this is the person in charge of everything that's got to do with the British consular in Nigeria until first week of April, when somebody else take over, Katrina Lang. Let's take this message now. He has been repeatedly denied access to medical assistance, and to his legal team, Mr. Kanu has requested consular assistance from the British government, but the British High Commission officials have been permitted to visit him on only 5 occasions. Imagine Nnamdi Kanu has been there going to almost 2 years, and he has only got 5 visits. Mr. Kanu remains in detention despite the United Nations and the Nigerian Court of Appeal have concluded that he was subject to extraordinary rendition and calling for his release on the basis that his detention is arbitrary. A very good evening to you, Honor Adeola Fortune Michael. Say, I face like a pokey. What is pokey? British government have handled Nnamdi Kanu's issue. Good evening to you, Kazim Adebi. I don't know what is the meaning of pokey. Good evening to you, Adenike Akinifesi. Yoruba nation is one nation, not ready to mingle with any other country. Yoruba speaking people will form their country, which is Yoruba nation, very soon. Once again, welcome Michael Ade and the rest of you. Olatunja Officer says, Nnamdi Kanu calling for the destructions of Sanwo-Olu and Bola Tinubu and for the destruction of the properties in Lagos led to his downfall. I totally disagree with that. I'm not going to buy into that. These are the narrative that the politicians are putting out. Nnamdi Kanu never asked for the destruction of Lagos property. The destruction that we saw at Akinolu Palace was done by the Yoruba people, and there's evidence to that. So I'm sorry, we're not going to buy into that narrative that Nnamdi Kanu gave the go-ahead. Nnamdi Kanu did not ask them to go and kill those innocent Nigerians that were protesting for NSAS. Sanwo-Olu gave the order with his own, Tinubu and the rest. So this narrative that Nnamdi Kanu gave the order for destructions of Lagos property, I'm not buying into that. It is again part of the agenda that is put out there. And yes, you have the right to say so, but like I said, Nnamdi Kanu did not give that order. So the Akinolu Palace, and there's evidence to that. I have the video. Even Okpashe was stolen by Yoruba people. Nnamdi Kanu did not ask them to steal Okpashe. We saw the Yoruba youth went into Igon Palace. They were streaming in there. They took out food from there. They even took out money. We saw the outfit of the King Palace. The king was moved in a speedboat to Benin Republic. So this issue that Nnamdi Kanu, gave the order, please let's not bring this kind of conversation. Like I said, I disagree with that, but that is your view. So the Yoruba people disrupted the situation. Nnamdi Kanu did not ask them to bond. This is it the Supreme Court in Bangladesh. The Yoruba people burned it down. And just as we saw, the Yoruba people disrupted the February 25th election in Lagos. We have a lot of Yoruba criminals that are working for Tinubu, and they were those that disrupted. And we have criminals that took advantage of a peaceful protest of the NSAS, infiltrated. We saw a young man, with cutlass. We saw them coming out of the vehicle in Ikeja. So, was it Nnamdi Kanu that gave the order, for the disruption of a peaceful protest? So we Yorubas need to be very, very careful, when we come, with these kind of messages. So, again, these are the, the kind of narratives, especially when they say the Igbo. I disagree with that. The Igbo are not taking your land. Those that are taking your land, everybody knows them, even if I don't mention every one of them on this platform. So let's go back quickly. So since it remains, despite the United Nations and the Nigerian court, what is the British government response, is the question. What is the British response? What is the British response to these issues surrounding Nnamdi Kanu? Why have they kept quiet? Why has the British government not done enough, just as they were doing a lot, to some of the British citizens that have also had similar problem? Because this is not the first time that we are seeing a British citizen being kidnapped. We know that, we've seen similar situation before. Good evening to you once again, Mrs. Modupe Lawal. One day will be one day, Yoruba nation will stand by the special grace of God. Again, let's come back. So, the recommendation, this is now the submission on behalf of the family of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to the Foreign Affairs Select Committee inquiry into the handling of the state-level hostage. It could be me tomorrow. It could be you. It could be your son. You might think that your children are clean. They might be involved in drugs. They might be involved in criminal activities. And they travel to African countries and they kidnap them. Rather than due process, they return them back to another country without due process. What do you say? Some of our children have got British passports. Some of them are traveling. Imagine your son traveled to Thailand, and because, maybe there was a drug found in his bag, he's not the one that put the drug there, and eventually, the case has not been handled properly. And this is why we have to be very, very concerned today. It could be Nnamdi Kanu because it's from the, the ethnic aspect of the Biafra. We don't have to do anything with them. But I'm not looking at it from that angle. I am looking at it from the angle of a British citizen, because a lot of us have children that also have British passports. Some of you have the British passport. Not everybody have it. Afunshaw Felix, good evening to you. If your daughter give you a phone call, oh, Dad, I'm in Malaysia. I've just arrived. But from the airport, situation is turning around against me, and the Nigerian government is asking me to return back to Nigeria because I posted something that was against Bola Tinubu before he became the president. Do you think that it might not happen? We're talking about Buhari now. We don't even know what Buhari is going to be handing over to Tinubu and what is going to be the end of it. So the British government needs to now do something before it is too late. Kazim Olawale say the UK don't want us to go our separate ways. They still want us to stand together. It is a lie. Yoruba nation must stand, no going back. Wow, happy birthday in advance to our beautiful mother, the back-end team, Mrs. Omolara Iyabo Ajala. Happy birthday in advance. Shout out to my big auntie, Sarah Oyelowo. I understand we don't love each other, and that is why we're saying allow the Biafra to go, allow the Yoruba to go, allow everybody to go their separate ways, and there will not be this hatred among each other. This hatred that we are fighting against now was all put together by the British government in 1914. But we leave the foundation. We're talking about we're trying to catch something at the top when we should deal with the foundation from the bottom. If the British have left us the way they met every one of us as a kingdom, the Igbo kingdom, the Bini kingdom, Ijebu kingdom, Oyo kingdom, Hausa kingdom, today I will not be here talking about some of the issues that we are discussing today, because this hatred has now had implant in some of us that we don't even want to hear anything that's got to do, when it comes to the Igbos. Oh, the Igbo destroyed the regional government. Who gave us this country in the first place? That is what we should be dealing with. Oh, the Igbo wants to take Yoruba land. Who gave us together? Why did they give us together? That is what we should be dealing with. That should be the question. And shout out to you again, our mother. There's a lot of happy birthday in advance from those on the YouTube channel. Adeosun Jimo, good evening to you. Shout out to every one of you that is watching us tonight. You have your right to your views, but like I said, the damage that we saw in Lagos State was instigated by the Lagos politician that wanted to force shut down the protest that was peaceful. Nnamdi Kanu did not say, go and disrupt that protest. So let us be very careful, when we come out and put out these, utterances as well that says, Nnamdi Kanu instigated, the burn down of Lagos. What do you mean that Nnamdi Kanu, is Nnamdi Kanu the government? Someone who is running all up under the frown, and we're going to find out. I say, I remain no participation in any political party, and as we say, I will allow the rule of law and the civic rights of Nigerians to play out on Saturday. Whatever is going to happen on Saturday, so be it. I know some of you don't like that views. Whatever is going to happen on Saturday, so be it. Nigerians have been tortured for a very long time, and for something to erupt, something must start. The case of Nnamdi Kanu is going to be a case that some of us, 40 years down the line, your children will have to come back and review what I'm doing today. Because we are standing for the truth. I am not standing for the truth because Nnamdi Kanu is just fighting for Biafra. I am looking at it as a British citizen. I live here as well in this country. So if I live in this country and I respect the rule of law of this country, and that means that should anything happen to me as someone that have been accepted into the society, then I must also be giving all the, the foreign support, especially if it's got to do with something that Nnamdi Kanu is also facing today. It could be Nnamdi Kanu today. It could be your own daughter tomorrow. It could be you tomorrow. You could be traveling and your bag, your suitcase got mixed up. Somebody could drop something in there and you could say, wow, I don't know anything about this. So, and before you know, boom, we've seen issues like that. So let's now look at the submission, and then we start moving into the next final lap of this program. Once again, Catherine Alan is leaving next month. Madi, peace. Because Nigeria and Nigerians are not honest to themselves, our race is a shame. Thank you so much. Keep the comment coming. Once again, happy birthday in advance to Mrs. Omolara Iyabo Ajala, and those that are celebrating their birthday as well. And I have somebody that was celebrating as well, but I don't want to go into too much details of that. This submission is made to the Foreign Affairs Select Committee inquiry into the handling of a state-level hostage situation. The mandate of the inquiry is to discuss the process and approaches taken by the British government in securing the release of detainees in Iran and other similar situations. In doing so, it will aim to assess the likely impact of the FCDO. So we can only hope that the legal team here in UK that last year also were able to get what we call a court injunction, and I think I have that somewhere here. Once again, a very good evening to those of you that have joined me so far. Nnamdi Kanu case is something that we can review continuously, but Mr. Kanu's family is represented by John Alford and Sharon Maka of Biden LLP, together with Charlotte Kilroy, KC of the Blackstone Chambers, and Tyan Itwell of Dart Street Chamber. So you can see that, money is being put together. And this is what we say to some of our Yorubas as well. When you're going to use some of this legal team, it is not free. They are not doing it for free, but they are doing whatever it takes to bring to the British government the case of a British citizen in Nigeria. And we have almost similar situation. The only difference between Chief Sunday, Dr. Sunday Igboho, and Nnamdi Kanu is that Igboho was almost going to be taken to Abuja as well if the government had, the split seconds. They were ready to do so. But we are grateful, and we continue to be grateful to one man that stood throughout the night to make sure that the case of Dr. Oloye Sunday Igboho, that could have been a similar situation to Nnamdi Kanu today, was stopped because our father, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, made the move to involve the lawyer that went out quickly and say, Igboho is not a criminal. Yes, he has been stopped in Benin Republic at the Cotonou airport because the federal government, during the invasion of his home, has already released information that says, should you find this individual anywhere in any airport, please do take him. Does not mean that he was a criminal. So Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu today would have been in Abuja, and we will probably don't know what is going to be happening today. So Dr. Oloye Sunday Igboho has been released. He's still in Benin Republic, but he's got his freedom back, even though some expect him into Nigeria to create chaos. Igboho is not a criminal, and he has been doing and is working tirelessly on a daily basis ever since he joined the struggle to the Yoruba nation self-determination. And we will continue to be very grateful should those that were surrounding Nnamdi Kanu knew ahead that Nnamdi Kanu has been kidnapped in Kenya. Nnamdi Kanu would have been able to be pinned down to Kenya, and then the federal government would have not been able to take him back. So today, as we move to the next segment of the program, it is not about being the Igbo man. It is about telling the truth that will probably be used to support the next person that might even be an Hausa man that has a British passport, but because of his view. Daddy Yati today is no longer to be found. Daddy Yati was kidnapped. We don't know whether he's alive, he's dead, by the governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, because his utterances is different from the utterances that they expect him to say. Even though he's an Hausa man, we don't know where he is. So we will continue to be grateful, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and likewise Dr. Sunday Igboho. Now let's come back to 2023. So many things is going to happen this coming weekend. And I can only advise some of us, as much as I know we all have different views when it comes to this election. My take is, I can only advise you that election is not going to work. We've seen how election has been played out in Nigeria. It has not favored anybody. But we know that some, it does not matter what you tell them. Election to them is do or die. And even if I say to Yorubas, vote this direction on Saturday, trust me, not everybody's going to buy into that. But why is this governorship election 2023 a game changer? For those that believe in election, I don't believe in any election in Nigeria. Election has been rigged, and the first one was rigged by the British government in 1959. And we saw how election was rigged as well in 1979. Let's hear from the Shehu Shagari election of 1979 and how it was disputed by the then Zik and our late father, Obafemi Awolowo. So election has always been rigged in Nigeria. This is not the first time that election has been rigged. Election was rigged in 1959 to favor the Northerners. The censor was rigged. Do you know that the federal government has postponed the censor? I don't know what censor they're trying to bring up when the country itself, is divided. But this is how it all happened in 1979 after the election.
Would you tell us what the talks were all about? No. You now are going to join the other. What is it? UPN in what? On behalf of our three political parties, and in the name of the vast majority of the people of Nigeria, we reject in its entirety. We reject in its entirety and without any reservation whatsoever the declaration of the Alhaji Shehu Shagari as president-elect. We have decided to challenge the Parental decision in the law courts. Notwithstanding the court action, and to save this nation further anxiety and uncertainty, we call upon the Supreme Military Council as the highest legislative and executive authority to annul the declaration of FCDO of Alhaji Shehu Shagari as president-elect and ensure that the Electoral College is convened forthwith to conclude properly the presidential election as provided by law. Thank you very much.
You cannot give any credit to the NPN for getting figures out of rigging. You can do nothing about rigging. They rigged, super rigging.
Well, you heard him there, super rigging. So rigging is part of Nigerian traits. They rig every election, they rig it. Since 1999 till date, rigging has been taking place in the southwest, in the southeast, in the middle belt, in the northern part of Nigeria, in the south-south.
Work. On your smartphone.
In your car.
Work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
In your car.
Work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Well, if you've just joined me, this is Starr Radio UK. So now let's come to 72 hours before the upcoming election in Nigeria, because that is the only thing that is trending presently in Nigeria. And at about 2000 hours, I would allow the phone line to be open just for about 20 minutes so that we can get some of your views as well. Thank you so much, Eunice, Uche, Chi, and thank you for those of you that have joined us. Why is this election that is about to be played on Saturday something that a lot of people are worried about? Why are they worried? What is the worried? I mean, election has been rigged since 1999. So many of these elections have never been conducted, in free and fair. Even the American government agrees that this election that has just been conducted, the presidential election, is not free and fair. The British, Katrina Lang, this is what she had to say in Abuja, I believe, yesterday. Let's read further. The outgoing British High Commissioner, I know you don't want me to bring a face on, but we have to because, that is how it works when we talk about one individual. So let's bring her face back in. This is what she had to say, and whatever she's saying, she's also let us remember that she's representing, the British government. The outgoing British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katrina Lang, has described Nigerian politics as fascinating, saying it offers a better future for democratic governance in the country. Whether you agree with that or not, I will let you when you have your calls or through your comment. Amobolaji Abdullahi, these are the people Koiki always out to learn history, but yet Iya Onidiri ati Titi confuse them. Good evening to you, Mrs. Comfort Olugunjalenkosi. God bless President Patrick Talon. Yes, we have to continue to respect Patrick Talon, the Benin Republic president that stood his ground to the monster that wanted to take away Dr. Olayomi Koiki away from Benin Republic, and he said no. Let's come back to Katrina Lang. I don't know what she meant by a better future for democratic governance in the country. She stated these amid litigations that is still trailing an election and the National Assembly that has been conducted, and we saw how it all played out in Lagos State, in Ogun State, in the North, in the Southeast, in the Middle Belt, ballots stashing in front of the observer. Good evening to you, Shodimo Ayodele. British don't want Nigeria to divide because of oil and gas. There's no doubt in our mind. Chaos, no going back, Yoruba nation now. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sarah Oyelowo, and the rest of you at Korede Oladepo, and those of you that are watching us as well on all the platforms. My question tonight is, this election coming up this weekend, everybody knows it's going to be stiff. Good evening to you, Yemi_Yemi and the 38 others that are currently on the Instagram with me tonight. The British envoy stated these while speaking with journalists after she paid a courtesy visit to the president of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, yesterday. She said, despite controversies that greeted the process of the election by some political actors, the nation politics was fascinating and portended bright future for the country. Do you agree with her views? Do you agree that we have better future ahead in Nigeria? Good evening to you, Mrs. Elizabeth Adesonya. Ijaya, up Yoruba nation, no surrender, no retreat, no surrender. Egbonada, welcome to the voice. That is the voice. When you get that voice in a message, you will understand that is Ijaya the general. Thank you so much. The British government representative is saying to us that this bright future of Nigeria, whether the election was rigged, whether there is no rule of law. Remember that we have been talking about almost close to 2 hours of the same British High Commissioner that probably 5 times, according to what the legal team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying, paid him a visit. Yet, they can't get him out. They are now telling us, she's telling us that there's still a bright future for us in Nigeria. What is your take on that? When you get this kind of, message from diplomat like her, how do you feel? Especially those of us that are looking up to, the diplomat to be fair, neutral. Do you think that she has been neutral all her time spent as an High Commissioner in Nigeria? And like I said to you, Olayilegushi is trending. And I'm going to be telling you why Olayilegushi is trending. Because Oro has been fixed for this Saturday, and Olayilegushi is now warning non-indigenous women to respect tradition at Etiosa. How are you going to respond to that? I don't know yet, but we're going to come back to that. There's just so much happening on the Twitter, and Nadeko is trending. I'm not sure why Nadeko is trending. Also in Bayelsa State, about 2 hours ago, commuters and residents are stranded on the east-west road along Zarama Market Bridge, Bayelsa State, as the youth besieged the area to express displeasure over alleged beheading of an indigene by suspected, guess what, Fulani terrorists. What is going on in Nigeria? But the British government representative is saying the election might not be smooth, the election might not be perfect. Gapsin_Tilly, good evening to you and welcome. Good evening to you, Grandma Princess Adebimpe Adeniyi Awoniyi. She only went to Nnamdi Kanu to make jest of him because she knows that Nnamdi Kanu didn't like her. How many of you are following us on the Twitter, on the Starr Radio UK? I'm going to be telling you the new British High Commissioner is a male that is going to be joining Nigeria in April. So we're going to talk about him and some of his, CV as we have it. His name is Dr. Richard Montgomery, has been appointed as the British High Commissioner. But for now, till April, we still have Katrina Lang representing us that are British citizens, because some of you are British citizens. So that means, I know some of you have dual citizenship, but again, as long as anyone representing you outside Britain, then they are still part of us. Let's go back to what she was saying yesterday. She said, I have made very good friends. She said, I love Nigerian music. She has made good friends. She loved Nigerian music a lot. She talked about the culture here is so rich. Which of the culture is she talking about? Because Nigeria doesn't have a culture. We know that Nigeria has 370 different ethnic groups. People, the Yorubas, the Shakiris, the Iboma, the Kanuris, the Hausas, the Igbos, and so on and so forth. Good evening to you, Adam OLAMILEKAN. I can't say that word. Trust me, I wish I can, but I won't be able to say that. Disney Man 123 said, we disagree with Katrina. I don't want to use the other word because she hasn't defined what she meant by bright future. In 1990, 14 naira to £1. Good evening to you once again, my brother Gapsin_Tilly. I love those of you on Instagram, and I can feel your energy, and likewise those of you on the other platform. I'm streaming onto Instagram tonight. Let me come down to the level of our language. Katrina Lang sọ fún wa pé òun kí wa, òun nífẹ̀ẹ́ Nàìjíríà. Democracy wa lè má dá nísìn, àmọ́ ní ọjọ́ ọ̀la ó máa dá. Ìyẹn arábìnrin tó wà lẹ́yìn mi, òun ló jẹ́gẹ́ bí diplomat àgbà fún àwọn ìlú tá à ń pè ní United Kingdom ní Nàìjíríà. Òun lọ ní April, arákùnrin mi ń bọ̀ láti ìgbà tí wọ́n ti mú Nnamdi Kanu, bí àwọn agbẹnusọ ẹ̀ ṣe sọ fún wa pé ẹ̀ 5 péré ni ìyá yìí àti àwọn diplomat lọ yọjú sí Nnamdi Kanu. Orí ètò Starr Radio UK ní aago 8 ó fẹ́ lọ lù, èní ní 15th oṣù kẹta nínú ọdún 2023. Àgbéyẹ̀wò tá à ń wò lálẹ́ ni pé ǹjẹ́ ẹni tó ń travel pẹ̀lú British passport gẹ́gẹ́ bí Nnamdi Kanu tí wọ́n mú ní Kenya ní June 21st tí wọ́n rendition ẹ̀tọ́ kidnapper, ǹjẹ́ ó bá ẹ̀tọ́ mu ní ilé ayé tá wà nísìnyí? A ti rí ẹ̀rí dájú pé ní 1984 ọ̀gágun níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn tí a mọ̀ sí Muhammadu Buhari bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ṣe fẹ́ kidnap Umaru Dikko, ìyẹn former minister for transportation, fún ẹ̀sùn pé ó jí owó tó lọ sí $1 billion. tó ti ń lọ bí almost 625 million pounds. Àwọn Israeli àti dókítà kan ni wọ́n gún lábẹ́rẹ́ níbi tó ti ń rìn nínú London tí wọ́n fi gbé lọ sí airport ní Stansted tí bàálù tó dé láti Nàìjíríà tó fẹ́ máa gbé padà. Àmọ́ Secretary Umaru Dikko òun ni kò jẹ́ kí wọ́n rí Umaru Dikko gbé lọ. Àmọ́ a mọ̀ dájú pé Buhari rí Nnamdi Kanu jí gbé láti Kenya nítorí pé àwọn kan ní ara àwọn ọmọ Biafra ni wọ́n ta Nnamdi Kanu. A mọ̀ pé wọ́n fẹ́ ṣerú ẹ̀ fún bàbá wa náà Dr. Olóyè Igboho Adéyẹmọ aka Sunday Igboho nígbà tí wọ́n rìnrìn àjò fi máa lọ sí Germany tí wọ́n dá dúró ní Kútọ́nù. Àmọ́ a dúpẹ́ fún bàbá wa Emeritus Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè tí wọ́n tètè paná ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn nítorí pé Ìgbòho náà bá wà ní Àbújá bí Nnamdi Kanu ṣe wà. In táwọn agbẹnusọ fún Nnamdi Kanu wá ń sọ fún àwọn tá a mọ̀ sí Foreign and Commonwealth ni pé committee ǹjẹ́ bí wọ́n ṣe gbé Nnamdi Kanu tí ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ sàn kankan sí ǹjẹ́ ó lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ ǹjẹ́ ó dá bẹ́ẹ̀. In tí mo wá ń bi gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pàtàkì fáwa tí a ti bímọ sílùú yìí ǹjẹ́ tí ọmọ wa bá ń rìnrìn àjò pẹ̀lú British passport tí wọ́n bá gbé fún ìdí kan àbí ìdí kejì tí British ò bá dá sí báwo ló ṣe máa rí lára yín? Tí British ò bá fọwọ́ kún báwo lẹ ṣe máa feel? Lótìtọ́ Nnamdi Kanu ni lẹ́nìí ǹjẹ́ tó bá jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá míì níjọ́ míì ó lè má máa lọ Nàìjíríà ó lè má lọ Kenya ó lè jẹ́ ó tẹ̀ ń rìnrìn àjò lọ Italy kí wàhálà ṣẹlẹ̀. Ó dẹ̀ ti ṣẹlẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ rí nítorí pé family kan travel ní ìjọ kan ní ó rà pé ní ọdún tó kọjá tí wọ́n swim ní swimming pool kan ní bóyá ní Italy ní àbí Spain fáwọn tó bá rántí tó fi di pé ìkànnù wọn àwọn ọmọ yẹn kú sínú omi. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé yẹ̀wò bẹ́ẹ̀. Ìta tó wá ń bèrè ni pé tó bá jẹ́ àwọn ọmọ tiwa ló ń rìnrìn àjò bẹ́ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú British passport tí wọ́n dá dúró báwo ló ṣe máa rí lára tiyín? Òun là ń gbé yẹ̀wò lórí ètò tá a mọ̀ sí Naija Voices lórí Starr Radio UK lọ́jọ́jọ́ Wednesday. Òun la máa pàdé wa lórí ètò náà. I'm asking again. The British government. Somebody says ẹni tí wọ́n jí gbé kidnapping ẹni tí wọ́n jí gbé tó bá jíyàn gbé ìbò ló wà a máa rí o àwọn gbọ́mọgbọ́mọ ẹ̀wọ̀n tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ gbọ́mọgbọ́mọ ni Fúlàní ló ń jíyàn gbé nísìn. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó jí wa gbé àmọ́ bá a ti ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn náà sì ń jí gbé nílùú tí a mọ̀ sí Nàìjíríà. Ìta wa ń bèrè lọ́wọ́ ọmọ Yorùbá lálẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ntí Katrina Lang sọ nínú àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́. Ó ní òun ti ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀rẹ́ nínú Nàìjíríà kódà ó náà ń like oúnjẹ wa àmọ́rú oúnjẹ tó like bóyá túwó kànṣáfí bóyá gbẹ̀gìrì àtàmàlà bóyá jollof rice bóyá èdìkàí kan. Ó wá sọ nǹkan kan tó jọ mí lójú. Ó ní the culture here is so rich. Ìyẹn Katrina Lang ló ń sọ̀rọ̀ orí ètò Naija Voices náà láṣì wà. Èní ní 15th of March 2023 19:56 p.m. Katrina Lang, according to the report, says, and I quote, just going back a little bit, Nigeria politics fascinating, has bright future, says the British High Commissioner. She's the outgoing when the new one, Dr. Richard Montagori, will be joining in April. But Katrina Lang says that amid litigation trailing the presidential and the National Assembly election conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, the British envoy stated this in Abuja yesterday after she paid a courtesy visit to Ahmed Lawan, the Senate president. The British outgoing High Commissioner to Nigeria, Katrina Lang, has described Nigerian politics as fascinating, saying it offers a better future for democratic governance in the country. I don't know which kind of, future she's talking about. She went further to say that even despite all the controversy, she said she has made good friends. She loved Nigerian music. She's now talking about the culture in Nigeria is so rich. Secondly, the politics in Nigeria is so fascinating. I was here till the last election. I finished with this election. I am impressed with Nigerian democratic journey. Yes, a bit setback, but in overall, I see this as positive and Nigeria should be proud, but with a remarkable difference when I came in 2019. So Katrina Lang has been with us since 2019, and she's going to be leaving in 2023, April, when Dr. Richard Montgomery will be joining as a new diplomat to Nigeria. She also went on to say, Nigeria is the biggest democracy in Africa. The world watches your progress to democracy. Though there was some disappointment in the last election, overall, every Nigerian should be proud because since 1999, Nigeria has been on the right track as far as participatory democracy is concerned. The election here is very different and fascinating as you are moving to three-party system or maybe even four. This is Katrina Lang speaking yesterday on the 14th of March. I think Nigerians as well should realize that their vote counts. Their vote count. She said, even as she saluted Nigerians for being resilient at all times of difficulties, insecurity, bad governances, economy damaged by President Muhammadu Buhari, kidnapping of Nnamdi Kanu, invasion of Sunday Igboho's house, killing of the innocent Igbo, the Yorubas massacred during the NSAS, and the disruption of the system under this government. Katrina Lang thinks that Nigerians as well should realize that their vote counts. She said before we conclude, even as she salutes you Nigerians for being resilient at all times of difficulties, according to her, there have been tough times. We had the COVID-19. Insecurity has got a lot more since I was here. So she agreed that there's more kidnapping of either you are Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, or the remaining 370 ethnic group. She's saying that Nigerian people are incredibly irresilient. This is Katrina Lang speaking to Nigerians. I remain very optimistic to Nigerian future. So it has been very wonderful tour and very sad to be going, she's added. Earlier, Senate President Lawan commended the British envoy on a positive disposition to the country and tasked her to help in strengthening the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Britain. My question to the people that are listening to Niger Voices tonight at exactly 8 p.m. Are we sure that what we have heard from Katrina Lang is the true reflection in Nigeria, or is she just another British envoy trying to please the masters? And then since 2019, Katrina Lang has done her best, and she believes her best is something that we should talk about. So my phone line is open. Don't be worried. I know we have a lot of listeners from African countries, but if you want to speak Yoruba, please, I would permit such on this platform. We can talk about the issues that we have talked about. I don't want to dive too much into the election coming up on Saturday. I will wait till next week, Wednesday, when I will be able. By then, result will have been out, and I will have more to say on that election. But like I said, the 2023 election is not yet over. It is still an ongoing, and this is now your own opportunity to get involved. This is exactly what Katrina Lang said in her own words. And for you, you might probably say, is she on something? Well, she's definitely on something because she believes the bilateral relationship between us and Nigeria is still ongoing. Starr Radio UK, Clement, good evening to you. Thank you so much. I saw, your very good donation, to our platform. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Katrina Lang spoke, and that is what she said. I know some of you with your comment there, some of those comments, we can't read them out, because of the regulation on the platform. But trust me, I can read everything that is coming through. Adam OLAMILEKAN said, I mention it again, it shall not be with R. Madipi say automatically, I don't like people like you who is not honest to themselves. Okay, I'm not sure why you're saying that. Let us be very, very civil on the platform. You've heard Katrina Lang, speaking to Nigerians. Election might not be perfect. Let us accept it like that. Let us, appreciate this election. It is not a perfect election that we want, but it could be amended in the near future. Ṣé ẹ agree pẹ̀lú ẹ̀? Kí lẹ̀yin máa sọ sí ọ̀rọ̀ tí Katrina Lang gbé kalẹ̀ yìí? Ǹjẹ́ bí a ṣe máa wò náà lélẹ̀? For those of us that are campaigning for Yoruba right to self-determination, there's still a lot of work to do. Education, is important. We must continue to tell the Yoruba people that as much as you might not want a Yoruba country, but the question is, are you pleased with the present day Nigeria today? As we always say on this platform and the other platform, I believe that the Yoruba people should leave Nigeria before it is too late. Nigeria is not for us. It is not going to work. And the longer we stay, the longer we stay in Nigeria, the more we will be facing all this backlash. Madi, please, let's remain very civil. We don't need to be fighting each other on the platform. Let's take it very easy. Once again, as I say all the time, there's just a lot happening. The British passport is important to you. Let's come back to quickly Emefiele. Emefiele, the CBN governor. Was it a plan to disrupt the election? Was Emefiele put in there to disrupt this election? Was he successfully or was he halfway? So many Nigerians are suffering today because they can't get access to the money. And money is very, very important. You need money to do so many things. I guess we have a caller that is coming through. We're just going to take maybe 5 calls before the program. Let's go to the first caller and we welcome them to the program. Hello, good evening and welcome to Niger Voices.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Well done. Yeah, I just wanted to say something. We all know that definitely they are playing games with us. She knows what is going on in Nigeria. Okay. She is still in Nigeria. She hasn't left. And she saw everything. It's not that. She knows. They all know what is going on. Okay. But they're just like, they're just being British as they are. Know them. So, saying that kind of democracy, is that how they practice democracy here? Is that what they do here? During the election, is that how it's always happened? Here, I remember when we are doing election here, nobody knows. Some people don't even know the election is going. You can, if you for the thing, if you know you said you won't be able to go to to vote outside, they will send you what's the postal voting. Yeah, exactly. You vote and you put it in the post. They will put even the stamp, everything you need, the envelope. They will put it there for you. So you just do whatever you want to do and put it nearby post. So, and even if you're going for election, you can go to work and come back, just walk in and do your voting. But in Nigeria, if you saw what happened, is that how they practice the democracy here? So definitely, they know it's like they don't want us to split because they don't really care about anything about masses or whatever. It's just for their own selfish interest. That is what I can say about her. And the election in Nigeria, I would still tell people, because I've been telling them, I don't know why people are wasting their time going for election. Something that you know that even when you are going there, it's a risk. And then whatever you do, whatever they vote, it doesn't count. Like she said, your Cardinal said the election can't. How? She saw all the rigging. She saw everything that happened in Nigeria. So I don't understand. But we understand. Don't say I don't understand. We understand them. That is what they do. That is what they want in Nigeria. That is how they want it to be. They don't want us to settle. They don't want us to have our independent. They don't want Nigeria to split, because they know that if we split, if we have our independent and Yoruba as a independent Igbo and Okoto, then we're going to be wise. We know what you are doing. We're going to know, yes, we will have a good plan and settle down, do all sort of things. So, and that is what they want. They want chaos. They want trouble in that country. That is what they are enjoying. So that whatever they are doing, they will be doing it. So that is just it. Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
So, but the election coming, they said we shouldn't, let's just fingers crossed. But
no, you can say something on it, but I just want to leave my own, last conversation on it till next week. But people have the right to talk about it. We're not going to stop anybody that wants to have something to say about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the election that is happening, we can see what is going on as well in Nigeria. Every one of them, they're doing like some Olu and all that. They've been like being very nice, doing their KABIRU, something like going from barbing shop to mechanic shop to playing, to play football and that sort of. And they've been saying, they're now saying something about NSAS after almost 3 years. It's not, they're not saying something like that because they believe people must take their stake. You understand? So they're doing that just to bribe people. And I want to tell people, all these things, if you are not wise enough, all these things you are doing, they're just doing it just for you to see them, just to patronize you, and for them to get there. When you get there, something is going to happen. And Nigeria, we should know by now that Nigeria is not working and it cannot work. It's not a cause. It's not working and it cannot work. No matter what they are doing in that country, it will not work. Honestly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Because I've been because I've been saying this for so long. That how do you put people that don't have the same mindset together and you believe things will go on smoothly among them? You don't have anything in common. We don't have nothing. Food, culture, religion, education, everything is so different. The way we think, the way we talk, everything, language is different. How do you put them together? That is trouble.
Okay. But she actually said she made a good friend. The culture is so rich. So I don't know which of the culture she's talking about.
Yeah, whatever the culture is rich. We know that we Yorubas, we have very good culture, and our culture is so rich. Even because we are together, we can't even display or practice so much. Because I believe when we are together, they see so many things we're going to realize and things, even to showcase our culture very well. Okay. All right. Let's give somebody else opportunity. All right. Thank you so much for the call. Thank you so much and good evening once again. This is Niger Voices. Because of the time constraint, let's go quickly. Let's do it quickly under a minute plus. Hello, caller. Good evening and welcome. Etonia.
We really appreciate you. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
But our people, I don't think they can be fooling us every time. Okay. This time is enough.
Okay.
They can't be fooling you every time up and down. Look at this woman. See the way she's denying everything, like they are not seeing everything. A lot of people are crying for hungry every day. And still, the system is working. Come on.
Okay.
Our people you want not church on your Sunday. And the Monday morning, they will still go with their black hats. Look at your pastors. I don't know having money to provide a good food for you. Pastors only school.
Okay.
Which one that we? Pastor, who do you want to call it? Check and the
All right.
One church, do you know a lot of church in Nigeria?
Okay.
Why can't they work one church and build a business? They're still collecting your money.
Okay.
Oh, you people should wise up.
All right.
Think about Christ. Let's take our religion, please.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, because of the time constraint. Thank you so much, the two last caller. You can also join the conversation. The number is the normal studio number for those of you that knows the number. And those that doesn't know the number, I'm going to call the number out in just about a few minutes. Ijaya says, we are wasting our time on the wrong effort because Nigeria cannot work. Grandma Comfort Adele say, Boju Boju Olorombo pretenders. Grandma, you're making me laugh tonight. Hello, good evening, to our another very beautiful grandmother and a mother. Boju Boju Olorombo. This come on, Yawa. Good evening and welcome to Niger Voices.
Good evening. Good evening to my fellow Yoruba people. I just want to ask a question concerning this APC party, because I can see our people from Yoruba World Media now telling our people go and vote for Sanwo-Olu so that they won't take Lagos and bus. Have we now turned to a political party? Why are they now soliciting for Sanwo-Olu? What has Sanwo-Olu deserved for people now to be supporting him? That's my one question. Second question, Katrina
Lang.
I believe she has been hypocrite, being sarcastic, too far from the truth, not seeing our parents. She's still a colonial master, thinking that we are still idiots or we are animals. That, they can do whatever they like and see us as being stupid. That's the way I see her. Because she lives in Nigeria for about 4 years, she can see what people are going through, how everything has turned upside down, and now is telling us that, the election is okay, you people, you are good people, you have to continue to live in agony and pain. Is this the way our own people live? That's the question I'm passing to her. Is this the way the English people live and enjoy their life? Why is she now telling us, it's okay in Nigeria? So I think this is a very wicked attitude towards the black race. And we, the black race, have to stand up for our rights.
Okay.
I can see, people can see that the country is divided already into three. Why can't we break it down? And we have our peace of mind. So that's my two questions that I want to ask.
Thank you so much.
And we should not look forward where we are going.
All right.
This stupid election and rubbish people are doing back home. We are not doing democracy. That's the truth.
All right.
We have to know that we are far away from democracy. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And a very big question there. Are we now promoting the agenda of an election by asking people to go and support and endorse Tinubu and APC and Sanwo-Olu? Like I said, I, Olayomi Koiki, of my name, I am not involved in any support to any of the three political parties. I'll allow the will of the Eledumare to play out whatever is going to happen on Saturday. Neither am I going to endorse Tinubu under the APC gladiator of the Sanwo-Olu, whether it's Labour Party or whoever they're putting out there. It doesn't matter whichever the state, even in Lagos State, whether it's Atiku. And this is the reason why, because what I have stood on in the last 4 years of this struggle is Yoruba nation. And there's no way, even in the midst of what is about to play out, should we now come out and say, oh, we should go and endorse somebody so that something doesn't happen. I don't know what is going to happen. Whatever is going to happen is the will of what is going to happen. But like I said, there's a lot of concern now that, some of our medias are there promoting the agenda, of these election campaign, or are they looking at it from a different angle that we are not seeing it from? Like I said, we all have different views. We're just 12 minutes before the end of the program on Starr Radio UK. We might continue, in the other section of the other broadcast. Let's come back again to, the next caller. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Koiki.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Niger Voices.
Okay. About that consular, what's her name? I even refuse to let her name register on my brain. Because since she came to Nigeria, she's been playing the fool as if she's dealing with fools. Because actually, I don't even know whether we are fools the way we behave. She's so patronizing. Look at what she's saying. Because he knows he comes to a state where you won't be able to pretend anymore. Look, what the hell of pretending to these people? We are good people that we love justice and equity. They don't. Even here that they just pretend. They cover their faces with equality and diversity, this and this, because they know their own people will go against them. But deep down, those people in high places, they are racist. So look at her now. She now comes there because she doesn't even care. The ones they've been sent into Nigeria before, they will still cover their faces and be playing nice people. This one, she's evil. And she's so, I don't even know the adjective to use for her. How could you say we have a good democracy? She can't even wear this, we are that. That witch of a woman, patronizing us, playing us, making us look like fools. And the people are dancing around her, welcoming her everywhere she goes. Idiot.
Okay.
So, they are nothing. They are just users, usurpers. Anyway, Mr. Koiki, none of us is there to depot. All they are saying is that I want to follow depot, but she buy. And then they are saying they should depot for Tino. If you have to go and depot for someone, call it Sebu Eko. Kamatu no matter. Any Roman Yoruba is a want to follow depot.
Okay.
They're just saying it. That's all I want to say.
All right.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. Well, once again, as we are just about 9 minutes to the end of the program, it's been, one other evening, 4 years. I'm trying to bring the new foreign high commissioner into the screen, but we're having technical. Let's see if we can try it another way around. I'm not sure why, we're finding it very difficult to bring that into the screen. Once again, Katrina Lang is completing 4 years in Nigeria. Okay, yes. So why are we not finding it right now then? A new high commissioner is coming to Nigeria. I'm going to be giving you the details of this new high commissioner in just about a few minutes. Just bear with us. Dr. Richard is the new British high commissioner that will now travel to Nigeria to now be representing the British government in Nigeria. These are very powerful individuals. Some of you probably don't know. Good evening to you, Mrs. Angela Choquet. Good evening, Hardcore DJ DeRoy, and the rest of you that are watching us as well. These are very powerful individuals that some of you will probably not know are powerful, because they are representing, what it means to be, British. So everything Britain is what they're representing. And that means that, some of what they will be doing while they're in Nigeria might have great impact, for either the British citizen or the Nigerian citizen, as is known, or for those that probably say we don't even want to be part of any of those as well. But one thing I can say is, should we leave it as it is without, bear with us, we're doing everything. I want to bring the face before we end this program in 7 minutes, the new British High Commissioner to Nigeria. Quite a lot of, technical work behind the scene. Should we do nothing? I think now our engagement should be more with this new High Commissioner, because Katrina Lang is going. Okay, something is not right. Let's see this way around. Once again, a very good evening as let's take our last music break for just about a few minutes, and then I will get that ready before we go. I just want to show you the face. So we love Janet, so let's take Arabani from Janet this evening as our last track before we start winding down on the Starr Radio UK. This is Niger Voices, Arabani by Janet. Once again, a very good evening as we're just completing the final round of Niger Voices. Next week we'll be out again in just about 5 minutes. We're going to be ending the program. But without saying thank you so much to each and every one of you that have joined us tonight. We're grateful. And we will be saying, fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tí ìrẹ̀wẹ̀sì wà ní ara yín, let us remind ourselves that Yoruba Nation is an ongoing project and nobody can stop that project. It is a project that is going to happen and it's going to happen in our lifetime. Yes, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Those work is still ongoing. Part of that is to educate as many Yorubas for reason that we are better off to be on our own as an independent nation, and I believe we might have that image now. But some believe that we should remain Nigerians. And yes, this is going to be the new phase of the British government in Nigeria in the next couple of days. So from April, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the new diplomat. They're very, very powerful individuals that is representing, the British government. Katrina Lang has done 4 years since 2019. So she said she was there when we started the election of 2019. And she's ending it with 2023. What an amazing time that she spent with us. And we wish her success to whatever new role she's going to be taking. But what do we know about the new British appointed High Commissioner to Nigeria, Dr. Richard Montgomery? Dr. Richard Montgomery, CMG, has been appointed the British High Commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He was succeeding Miss Katrina Lang, CB, who will be transferring to another diplomatic service appointment. Mr. Montgomery will take up his appointment during April 2023, according to the statement by the UK government. Between 2018 and 2022, Dr. Richard Montgomery, CMG, worked as the World Bank Group UK Executive Director in Washington. This is the full CV of Dr. Richard Hugh Montgomery, married to Nahid Bigrami, had 2 children. From 2018 to 2022, the World Bank Group UK Executive Director in Washington. From 2015 to 2018, he was the Department for International Development DFID Director, Asia, Caribbean and Overseas Territories Division. From 2013 to 2015, Islamabad Counselor Development and the head of the office DFID Pakistan. 2009 to 2013, Abuja, he was the Development Counselor and the head of the office of the DFID in Nigeria. So this individual is not new to Nigeria. He's just taking a new role as a diplomat in Nigeria. Quickly, before we hand over to the studio, because the time is far now on me, from 2006 to 2009, he was a DFID Deputy Director and the head of the Corporate Human Resources and the head of Security, East Kilbride. 2005 to 2006, DFID Deputy Team Leader, Top Management Group, is used to Africa. He was in Zambia from 2002 to 2005 at Lusaka as the Deputy Head DFID. From 1999 to 2002, Dhaka, Senior Social Development Advisor, DFID in Bangladesh. From 1996 to 1999, New Delhi, Social Development Advisor, DFID to India. From 1993 to 1996, he was a Swansea University lecturer in International Development Center for Development Studies. From 1992 to 1993, Manchester University Research Institute for Development Policy and Management. 1992, JKW Consult Mahin Psychologist. And from 1988 to 1991, University of Cambridge Doctorate, PhD in Social Anthropology. And this is going to be your new British High Commissioner to Nigeria. So you're going to be seeing more of his face. I'm not sure whether he's going to be doing the same thing, as Katrina Lang was moving around, but till then, we'll be here to tell you more about it. I have to go now because the time is fast spent this evening. I would like to appreciate my producer one more time, Mr. Frank David and Mr. Archie Armand, and to all my viewers and listeners from around the world in African countries, in Europe, in Asia, and wherever you are, whether you are listening on the phone, on the tablet, on your big screen. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and this is Niger Voices that comes up every Wednesday between the 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. This time next week, more results will be out. As I say, election is something that a lot of Nigerians believe in, and we cannot say no to them. But I don't believe in election. But as we say, it is the freedom for everyone to decide what they want. Nigeria is not working. That is my own personal view. Nigeria will never work. We are better off as an independent Yoruba country where we can flourish, we can develop quickly. But one thing is, Nigerians believe it is just about Nigeria. They can rejuggle and fix Nigeria. So I hand over now to the studio, Mr. Archie. And once more, I say thank you so much to every one of you that took your time to spend the evening with me tonight. I'll be back again next week, definitely. And I say thank you so much.
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK. In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone. The best radio show. The best radio show.
the morning show.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
And then we come back into our own studio. I say thank you so much as I kickstart from there. Let's get the mic onto the channel on the MixLR. Yeah, I hope the Bango Melody MixLR. I'm gonna get the screen back to me now. Yeah, and it's been one of those nights as usual. Thank you so much. There's a lot of concern out there, but we must remain strong. We must remain firm and no shaking. It does not matter whether we are still 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Some people might not even be happy. It's a movement. I won't come out wọlé lórí train on my bole. Maybe I should show you these on this one of my train journey in London, so that kẹ́ lè mọ̀ pé Yoruba nation irú wa ògiri wa ni. Àwọn kan máa wọlé wá ṣe dáadáa at the beginning. Wọ́n á dẹ̀ fi pé okay, ìrìnwọ̀n fi papọ̀ wá pull back. But I can assure you that I will be here for us. Even if some of my views, my utterance might not please you. But lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation, mo dúró pa lórí ẹ̀. Kò sí mo mí lọ báyìí. Yorùbá nation ni, I'm not interested in any politics. Mo ti sọ láti ilẹ̀. Tí bá fi ṣe politics, kò ń ṣe nísìnyí ṣe máa sọ̀rọ̀ politics. I have all the opportunity in this world. I hope you can hear me loud and clear on the MixLR. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Allow Baba, I can hear you. Eshegoni, because I'm to switch over. See, platform thing, I'm to call Starr Radio officially now. So, I'm back into my own platform where Starr Radio, I try to be very, very, Eshegoni, our funke to gallant. Mo ti sọ, tí bá fi ṣe politics. Kò ń ṣe nísìnyí ṣe máa polongo ẹ lọ dìbò báyìí kí ní kàn mí tó bá ẹ bá dìbò anyhow wàláì kò sí tó kàn mí gbogbo ẹni mo fi sọ ìjà tẹ́mi gbé dání ìjà kó dàrú ni nǹkan kan rẹ̀ ló máa fàjà mo sọ fún yín pé platform ìjà lélẹ̀ ẹ bá wá platform máa sọ̀rọ̀ tí bíbà ìjà ni bí ìjà lè nífẹ̀ẹ́. So nǹkan kan bá trigger ìjà náà ni nǹkan kan ó gbọ́dọ̀ trigger ẹ̀ ó lè jẹ́ láàárín àwọn olóṣèlú yẹn náà nìjà yẹn máa ti trigger tó máa fọ́ Nàìjíríà gbogbo tó máa fọ́ Nàìjíríà lèmi gbàdúrà fún because ìlú tó níyàn lára lójoojúmọ́ ni so ká ṣe tó wá máa wá dọ́gbọ́n ká máa ṣe báyìí fi sí bí tí bá fẹ́ fèsì bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn èyí kọ́lé ìsínkọ́ni ṣe máa ṣe yẹn ó ti late kò ń ṣe tí mo gbé dání nísìn níbi tí mo sọ̀rọ̀ dé màá ṣe máa nítorí pé mo fi please àwọn kan mo mọ anybody rí o mo sọ sòótọ́ I love every one of us ní tí mo gbé dání ó risk gan èmi dẹ̀ ni mo mọ̀ pé ó risk èyí lè máa mọ̀ so kì í ṣe tó wá máa sọ̀rọ̀ níbi tí mo sọ̀rọ̀ dé torí mo fẹ́ please àwọn kan ní tí mo gbé dání wà risk gan. Risk factor tó wà nú ẹ̀ ó le ju tẹ́yìn ló lọ 3-4 years ojú tèmi ló wà nígboro tí bá rìn láti bíbá ẹni sè dé Peckham èèyàn márùn ó máa dá mi mọ̀ so kí wọ́n á sọ pé tí mo gbé dání Ọ̀túnba and Madi please let's leave that Madi please let's focus on the program. This place is not for fracas, I beg. Àbúrò mi yé nísìn. ibi tèmi ṣiṣẹ́ dé kí wọ́n ní mo tún wá fẹ́ please àwọn olóṣèlú kí ní kàn mí pẹ̀lú àwọn olóṣèlú the bastard lórí burúkú ni gbogbo wọn látòkè délẹ̀ because àwọn ọlọ́kọ̀ wá sínú problem tá a wà yìí they have every means to stop it they are not stopping it èmi máa make effort láti jẹ́ kó fàjà lèmi fẹsẹ̀ next week mo ń dóde next week kí n tó sọ̀rọ̀ dáadáa àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ kan mo gbé pamọ́ ni ó di next week èyí tó bá máa fàjà kó fàjà láàrin gbogbo wọn ó kí gbogbo ẹkọ dàrú yẹbọ orò lọ́nà fi jáde ní Saturday orò máa jáde ní Saturday tó fi ṣe election ọba Elégùṣì ní kóró jáde níjọ́ Saturday orò jáde ní Saturday ti ilé tó kọjá ẹ Saturday tó fi ṣe election èmi gbé risk lèmi gbé dání mo dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run tí ó fún mi láwọn family tó dúró tì mí dáadáa màá sọ̀rọ̀ tí bá fẹ́ ṣe politics kò ń ṣe nísìn mo sọ fún yín pé Ọ̀túnba Dàpọ̀ Williams kọ́lọ́n bá fọ̀n kẹwọn I had access to Aso Rock ó ń ṣe pé tẹnu ẹni tí mo manage platform ẹ̀ ó sì wà pẹ̀lú vice president Yẹmí Ọ̀sínbàjò ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ̀ sì wà pẹ̀lú wọn màá nítorí pé bí nǹkan ṣe ń lọ nísìn is a movement ẹ jẹ́ kí n fi ilé wọn yìí sọ kí n sọ lọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá nation àwọn kan máa wọlé àwọn kan máa jáde àwọn kan tún padà wọlé ọ̀nà ẹ̀mọ̀ báyìí tẹ̀wá Nàìjíríà ẹ̀dá tírénì mọ̀ but tẹ̀bá iṣẹ́ àrùn ṣe máa ń wọ lórí tírẹ̀ yẹn o lè wọlé láti Green Park wàláì tó bá jẹ́ pé Elephant and Castle ni mò ń lọ mo tún lè bọ́lẹ̀ lórí bus kí n tún lọ join the train padà sọ kí n sọ ní 4 years ojú tèmi mà ló wà ní dùgbòrò máa defend àwọn olè politician tó ń ní àwọn family bọ́ọ̀tẹ̀ ní family tí lára wọ́n ní family tèmi lára I have a lot of my family in Nigeria lójoojúmọ́ wọ́n ní wọ́n lára so let the will of God as we say let the will of Elédùmarè happen. Good night, Madi, and thank you so much. Keep the will of God happen. This is what it looks like as Yoruba nation. Sọkí sọní. Àwọn kan máa sọ. Àdàbí wà tẹ́ pé wọ́n sure. Some people are not even sure nǹkan tá gbé dání. Because some are very very skeptical. Ìrọ̀lẹ́ ń pa ẹ̀kọ́ fi ń jẹun ni ẹ fi ń ṣe kíní kan. Ní ẹ̀ fi ṣe pé gbogbo ẹ̀ náà la máa ń rí. Ìyàwó mi ní báwo ṣe máa ń ṣe kíní táwọn èèyàn ní máa ẹ̀ máa bínú tí wọ́n ti use money. Ọ̀rẹ́ ní gbogbo wa lórí platform. I know some people don't like it, but kò dẹ́n ṣe pé wọ́n fún mi ní endorsement tí mo dẹ̀ ń bá wọn polówó lójoojúmọ́ báyìí £1 ló ń kọ̀ sí mi láti rà àbí kí ni mo sọ àwọn máa sọ̀rọ̀ débi àwọn máa ní mo support olóṣèlú ní kàn pẹ̀lú olóṣèlú a ní kí gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ kó dàrú kó fọ́ jágbajàgba kó gbogbo ẹ̀fọ́ ní pé kinní kan ẹ̀sẹ̀ tó lè gbalẹ̀ mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ ẹja gbọ́ fídíò yìí.
KOIKIMEDIA.
kí ló ṣojú ẹ̀ tó jáde mi máa ń gbàgbé pé mo release speaker mi ti gbàgbéra
onígbà tó máa ń bísí onígbà tí kò bísí.
ẹgbẹ́ ìdá padà sẹ́yìn sórí train tó ń wò yìí sọ kí n sọ ló ń pè rà pé bíi Victoria line nílẹ̀ àbí Piccadilly ní tẹ̀mí sọ kí n sọ ní tó bá wọ̀ níbì kan a tún lọ bọ́lẹ̀ níbì kan and people come in and go out ní olọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation so àníkàwọn èèyàn máa vote àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá ọ̀rọ̀ vote fún presidential àwọn kan rò pé bóyá mo máa kó ìbọn bọ́ta máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní kọ́ lọ pa wọ́n nílé tí èmi wá jẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀dẹ̀ táwọn tá à ń jà fún náà látún máa lọ pa so wọn tá à ń jà fún àlè ní kọ́ pa wọ́n náà èmi mọ̀ pé poverty mentality ló ń ṣe púpọ̀ nínú wọn ìsinlọ́wọ́ ń sáré káàkiri èèyàn kan fi voice note lẹ̀ fún mi ọlọ́pàá dá dúró ní last month kan ló pè nínú kòsíkòsí wọ́n gba ṣéǹjì tó wà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ó wá dì sí ọlọ́pàá ń bẹ̀bẹ̀ last man bẹ̀bẹ̀ gbogbo wọn bẹ̀bẹ̀ so kí ló dé tí wọ́n ṣẹ̀tọ́ láti jọ ìtẹ́lẹ̀ kí ló dé tí wọ́n ṣẹ̀tọ́ ẹja play video ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kan sí mi bọ̀.
KOIKIMEDIA, bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. As we máa ń sọ sórí báwọn èèyàn onígbà tó máa ń busy onígbà tí kò kí ń busy ó ti lọ nìyẹn the next one ìyẹn máa dé ní
ìwọ́n kan tí mo sọ ó ti lọ nìyẹn bí ẹ̀ lọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá nation kò ní bàjẹ́ fún ẹ náà central line kọ̀ lọ́dà pé Piccadilly báwo ni ìyàwó ọ̀nà sà ṣùgbọ́n báwo ni ṣẹlẹ̀ yìí sọ kí n sọ ní ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá lè sọnà kódà àwọn kan ti dọ̀tá gánṣẹ́ láàrin ẹ̀ tó bá dẹ̀ tún déjọ́ iwájú àtúmọ̀dọ̀rẹ̀ ó ṣe dandan sọ kí n sọ ní o ọmọ anybody rí o wàláì cause èmi ni mo mọ risk tó wà náà ẹlòmíràn mọ risk tàgbé dání o ó yí sí fẹ́ tó ń pè wọlé tó ń pè comment àwa ta gbójú síta gangan bí èmi àwọn kan jáde sójú títì o ojoojúmọ́ lè ní jáde sójú títì o èmi mo mọ risk tó wà náà sọ̀rọ̀ pé ní ti lọ sọ̀rọ̀ pé ti lọ èmi tún máa dé o sọ̀rọ̀ pé mi tuntun tún tọ́ná níbẹ̀ èmi máa tún dé sọ̀rọ̀ ilé náà ti dúró ó ti fi gbèrò sórí òun lọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá nation sórí gbá ó máa tilẹ̀kùn ìyẹn máa tún dá dúró sórí sẹ́ńsọ̀ ni òun lọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá nation ó ti délé ní wàlábà torí pé ó ti tilẹ̀kùn ó lọ another 1 minute 1 minute tí bá wẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ again ìyẹn tuntun today ìmọ̀lẹ́ ní ó possible but àwọn wèrè tí wọ́n jẹ́ kó drag àwọn ló ń jẹ́ kó drag tó bá yẹ pé gbogbo àfọwọ́kun lẹ́ẹ̀kan ni politician parọ́ fún wọn politician ẹni kéèmí wa lọ rescue ìní á lọ fi platform tèmi rescue kò ní da fáwọn politician náà politician pọ̀ torí ilé náà dúró today torí every minute torí not going back ni o so ẹ̀yin tèmi we pray every day gbogbo àlà ń gbàdúrà a fẹ́ Yorùbá nation ẹ̀dẹ̀ tí ní ká má jà ẹ̀dẹ̀ tí ní àjà so ọ̀nà tó fẹ́ wá gbà nísìnyí ẹ̀sìn jẹ́ ká fi sílẹ̀ kọ́ lọ́ọ́ máa yanjú yẹn so mo clean the dust àwọn tó wà lórí laptop so anyway that was about it àfa àfọlọ́run ṣọ́yìn ọ̀dà mo tún gbogbo yín ẹ máa ka tó àti ṣe almost 2 hours 36 minutes ẹ jẹ́ kí èmi náà lọ relax a little bit more mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Instagram pẹ̀lú ìmọ̀lẹ́ quite a lot of people there Katrina Lan èèyàn ńlá so thank you so much everyone orun ayọ̀lá máa sun àníṣe lásán ó ń ṣọmọ olókùú bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwa la ní sí àgbẹ̀yìn train journey ni ìgbà míì train náà máa ń dákú wàláì underground this train is stopping here kò ṣiṣẹ́ mọ́ nìyẹn wàá dẹ̀ tún wá train míì àtún pull yẹn ìyẹn àtún continue. So Yoruba Nation is a continuity, especially for those of you that are really, really concerned that it seems that everything is gone quiet, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀, ṣé ti lọ support Tinubu ni, and all that. Yeah, Yawa Esther wà ń bẹ̀ látàárọ̀. So, even some of you silent listeners, èmi náà máa ń lọ sọ́dọ̀ tí yín náà, mọ̀ pé mi náà wà ń bẹ̀. I know you are there. Ẹ ṣàfihàn pàtàkì sọ, kò má tà. But lágbára Elédùmarè, inshallah lórúkọ Jésù Kristi Yorùbá nation ó máa wáyé kò sọgbọn ẹ Nàìjíríà ti kọjá stage tí wọ́n ṣe ní gbogbo tó ń ṣe ní Nàìjíríà nísìn before we go wọ́n package díẹ̀díẹ̀ wọ́n fi jẹ́ kó explode but ó ń boil ẹ̀mọ̀ tó ní gbóná bá ń boil òun lọ́rọ̀ Nàìjíríà fẹ́ explode. Àwọn akọ́lá máa explode but ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́mi bá ń sọ ẹ máa gbá wọn létí left and right àti politician àtọba o àti baálẹ̀ èmi ọ̀kan ní bọ́ba mọ́ni èmi bá yín bọ́ba ẹ bá pè lórí program ẹ má bọ́ba ẹ jà fún àwọn baálẹ̀ but à á máa sọ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ṣé nísìnyí lọ́mọ̀ pọ̀ fẹ́ gbé orò jáde ní Saturday ẹ wá ní káwọn ọmọ ẹ má tún bínú ẹ gẹ́tì kan tí mò ń sọ. Àwọn ọ̀dọ́ lẹ̀ ń bá fa nílé nísìnyí ń ṣàwà àwọn yúùtù tẹ́ ẹ̀ lè rà wọ́n àwọn yúùtù lẹ̀ ń bá jà ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ bá yúùtù jà èmi ò ká pẹ̀sẹ̀ pé yúùtù lèmi bàbá 40 yúùtù lèmi náà àbí àwọn yúùtù lẹ̀ ń bá jà I mean election is coming on Saturday ẹni wọ́n fẹ́ gbé orò wo ló ń gbé ṣé nísìnyí ló ń gbé orò gbé orò láti 2 weeks ago nísìnyí lẹ́wọ́n náà fẹ́ gbé orò. And you expect people not to be angry. in Lagos State. Àwọn wà níbà kọ́lọ́n kó ṣọ́wá dìgbà. Ẹ dá gbọ́ you don see Igboho ká tó máa lọ. Àtọ̀rúnmìlà àti Elédùmarè ìkan náà ni gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ni mo ti ní Elédùmarè ẹ̀ tún lórúkọ Ọ̀rúnmìlà kí ni ìyàtọ̀ àwọn méjèèjì ọmọ ìyá kan náà ni gbogbo wọn. So anyway let's call it a night. Kí èmi náà lọ jókòó ọ̀rẹ́ àpọ́n náà wọ́n wà lórí program náà lọ jókòó ìmọ̀ rẹ̀ yìí dára sí wà bẹ́ẹ̀ máa jọ ìrìn àwọn ẹgbọ́n kan tó máa sọ kí èmi náà ti lọ kọ́ ẹ̀kọ́ èmi náà wọn lọ kọ́ ẹ̀kọ́. So bó ṣe jẹ́ nìyẹn ṣé gan ni ìyá mi ọ̀lọ́lára mo kí wọ ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ wa àti olólùfẹ́ Yorùbá nation lẹ nífẹ̀ẹ́ lẹ fi nífẹ̀ẹ́ tiwa ẹ bá ti nífẹ̀ẹ́ Yorùbá nation mọ́ kò ń ṣe dandan ní kẹ́ nífẹ̀ẹ́ tiwa náà. So kò sí tó fẹ́ kó gbogbo àpapọ̀ nìyẹn because some people will know each other before some will probably got together during this progress of Yorùbá nation but èmi o Olayomi Koiki of KOIKIMEDIA mo ní fẹ́ mi endorse any politician ó pẹ́ kó gbogbo ẹ̀ kó dàrú gbogbo ẹni mo fi sọ politician kò ní dá fún gbogbo wọn látòkè délẹ̀ máa kí pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ ìpínlẹ̀ ẹja play anthem ká máa lọ lé jáde bí a kì í tún play bá mi ṣe kẹgbọ́n ẹ̀ bí àyàn tún mú yín nígbà àyà lọ endorse politician.
èèyàn pátápátá ni màmá jókòó sí ẹ̀yìn ni mo wà ìlú wà lẹ́yìn orí dírẹ́fà yẹn ló ń wú lọ́kọ́ ẹ̀ títí rí orúkọ bóyá nọ́mbà bíi ọtí ẹni lẹ́yìn ìlú ṣáà fàdúrà ẹ̀sìn wàlẹ́ ọkọ mi ò balẹ̀ má sọ fẹ́ ní gbòdì má sọ fẹ́ ní gbòdì ní mo mọ̀ sí ìsèpá sáré lọ ní ọba àti wọn máa wà kí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ṣe ẹ̀yẹ tí kòkó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ ṣe ààrẹ o. wọn ní mọ́tò yẹn báyìí èèyàn pátápátá ni màmá jókòó sí ẹ̀yìn ni mo wà ìlú wà lẹ́yìn
ọmọ ọlọ́mọ dànù ṣé ìyá àti bàbá ẹ̀ tó bá bára wọn sùn ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì máa bírú ọmọ yẹn ní tó bá máa ṣẹlẹ̀ ní kó ṣẹlẹ̀ jàre. Títí dọ̀la olórí burúkú Sanwó-Olú lọ kí fámìlì ẹ̀ káàkiri bí ẹṣọ oníwò lè mọ̀ ní sí sátọ̀dẹ̀ fẹ́ẹ̀ dé tán nígbà ilé mi wà tèbí Sanwó-Olú wá sí bíbà ẹ mọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ sáwọn tó lọ sí gbàtẹ́pẹ́ púpọ̀ Ọlọ́run jẹ́ tó bá dọ̀la lágbọ́rọ̀ rẹ̀ kọ́lọ̀ sọ́mi dọ̀la máa pe alájà màmá lálùbáríkà alájà adéyẹyẹ tẹ bá gbọ́rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ burúkú tí Sanwó-Olú sọ sí ìyá yẹn nígbà tó lọ sí Chatham House tẹ bá gbọ́rọ̀ tí FTT Sanwó-Olú yẹn tó sọ sí àwọn ìyá yẹn ẹ pé Sanwó-Olú kó jágbàjàgbà lọ Sanwó-Olú kọ Sanwó-Olú ni wọ́n pẹ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ kó dàrú ní sátọ̀dẹ̀ ó dàrọ̀ jàre. Orílẹ̀-èdè Àgbéga ìgbàgbọ́ àti ìbẹ̀rù ìṣọ̀kan ìkẹjẹ ìtẹ̀síwájú ìrẹ́ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀jẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ Bọ́lá Yunis Ìmọ̀lájú ọ̀dọ́ àwọn ọmọ rẹ̀ ìrora ló máa sọ.
Wọ́n ní Nàìjíríà àdéhùn ẹgbẹ́ Nàìjíríà tó ń di education something in the earth infrastructure wọ́n fẹ́ẹ̀lì ohun kan náà fẹ́ẹ̀lì ẹwà náà fẹ́ẹ̀lì ìbọ̀dọ̀ ẹ̀ sọkùn ìran rẹ nígbà yìí gbogbo kọ́ọ̀pù tí ẹ gbà ìwọ lẹ́sìn gbogbo yìí àfáwọn náà wá sí òkú lórí wọn lọ ọmọ wọn lábẹ́ lórí ọmọ ìdáná wọn. kọ́lá tí nàìjíríà máa gbọ́ pọ̀ jọba yìí èmi wà náà tí wọ́n sọ ẹyẹ gémi eré pa ẹfẹ́ nìkan gbogbo nǹkan kò sẹ́ni kéde kò sí pa bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn kọ́ sí kò lè rí òkú lọ́sibítà kò sí náà kò sómi ó kó lọ lọ ọdún mẹ́fà wọn ò ní sí eruku pàrọ̀ àdúgbò ta.
ọmọ Oòduà ọ̀gá Fúlàní ọ̀gá Fúlàní ọ̀gá Fúlàní ló jẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation yìí ti gbogbo wa ni kó má gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́ torí kò sílùú mìíràn.
Life is so funny. You come with nothing, then fight for everything, and later leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful.
So much. Udaro. I love you all. Bye for now.